Matthew, that's spelled Thieu at the end, says, on
Mathieu.
KP24, you are very much correct, Mr. Parry. So thank you very much indeed. Okay? Yeah.
What's his name?
Matthew.
Mathieu.
Mathieu.
Well, he's French. They don't play cricket.
Mathieu. Well, yeah, okay. So they do. Didn't they
French
play in the
play
World
cricket?
Cup? No, they didn't. No, that was the Irish, wasn't it? Yeah.
No, that was the Irish. Easy to
confused.
mistake the French for the Irish.
Stimulating late-night sporting debate for long-distance lorry drivers,
14 for the copy.
young mums,
What time do you call this? Coming on?
and students who've taken too many of those caffeine tablets.
The Two Mics, Parry and Graham on Talk Sport.
Look at the light!
He'd love Scooby-Doo.
He might like Scooby-Doo, but
What's
he
the name of
might
the dog in
freak him out.
Scooby-Doo?
Scooby-Doo.
Oh, is that the name of the dog? Sorry. I thought it was a cartoon with like human characters in it and a dog.
Yeah, but the dog's called Scooby-Doo.
Oh, right, okay, yeah, I've got it.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. It's not often we do a show within 12 hours of another show, but
Well,
here we are, and a very good morning to you, Mr.
And a
Parry.
very good morning to you, Mike. I was just about to say, without a shadow of a doubt, because of the way red tape works in this country.
Red tape?
Yes, health and safety
Yes.
will be on to TalkSport very shortly, saying, how could you allow these men back on the air, the poor, bedraggled duo, just 12 hours after they left the studios from completing another, Wepo-papa-bambi show.
What?
A Wepo-papa-bambi.
Wepo-papa-bambi.
Yes, that's
I've
right.
never heard you say that
Yeah,
before.
well, that's,
Have you been saving that one up?
No, that's a new expression.
Well, I mean, if you want to tell me how you spent the last 12 hours, I'll be more than happy to tell you how I spent the last 12 hours.
Well, why would I want to bore the audience with how I spend 12 hours between two shows?
Quite frankly, because you bored everybody to death last week with the entire kind of, Porky's rundown of when you can hear the Two Mics on the radio.
Yeah, well,
that people were so confused, they didn't know what was going on.
Well, the thing is that we won't be on at all now through the rest of this day, which is Wednesday.
Yes, because there's a cricket match on.
TalkSport are turning it over to cricket.
Yeah.
But one of the reasons we're doing this show is to make our podcast available to you from about 7:30.
Well, it might be a little later than that, to be honest.
A little later, 8:30, 9 o'clock.
Yeah.
Tomorrow morning to get you through the day.
Yes.
We hope.
We hope, yes, absolutely right. And the good news as well is Hawksby and Jacobs will be doing some of the cricket commentary.
They will.
So that'll be very, very much...
That'll liven it up a bit.
It will certainly liven it up, yeah.
Now, I did spend an hour or two in mild bladderation, I suppose, after the last show we did finish, followed by a return to Stockbroker Belt, followed by...
Any sleeping?
What?
Was there any sleeping involved?
No sleeping involved, no.
Why don't you sleep?
Well, because I have administrative responsibilities, which I got stuck into.
No, but you can't just not sleep.
I also had to
you will
organise...
die if you don't sleep.
Well, that's all right, don't worry. I also, of course, had to watch a good 4 or 5 hours of recorded television for tonight's Porkyvision. And then had to get into organising affairs within my neighbourhood and community to make sure that all is well.
Hey, how's that van, by the way? I'm
still there. This is one of the big problems.
So the van that was left there, rotting, right, because they can't tow it away.
That's right.
Has now been there for how long? About 6 weeks?
Yeah, and it's been consumed by a tree now. I mean, there's literally a tree growing around it.
How can it be consumed by a tree?
Well, the tree's growing out and the branches are starting to curl around it.
Really?
I mean, it's becoming a huge
problem. Is it parked next to a tree, then?
Yes, parked next to a tree, yeah. So,
there's a tree like that not far from here, isn't there, down in Repel Street, which I noticed the other day.
Oh, that's
growing.
Right, yeah, which you'd never seen before.
Well, I never noticed the fact that there are kind of leaves growing out of the bark now.
Yes.
So that it doesn't, unlike many trees where you've got the tree, the main sort of stump of the tree, the trunk, going up to, I don't know, maybe about 7 feet, and then the leaves and the branches come out the top.
Yes.
The leaves are coming out from the bottom of this tree.
Yes.
All the way up.
Right,
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, right.
So you can't get around it. You've got to walk out into the street to get around it.
Did I tell you, by the way, I had a rather shocking experience on Sunday morning.
Did you?
I
don't think you did.
To tell you, no. What happened was, I went shopping in... Oh, it was Saturday morning.
Was it?
Yeah. I go shopping in Morrison's at 6:15 on a Saturday morning.
Right.
Because there's nobody else there.
No.
And I'm smarter than the average bear. And the one
what time is it open?
6.
6?
Yeah.
Right.
And the one till it's open, I get to myself.
Yeah. Have they got everything stocked up by then?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's very efficient.
Yeah.
In fact, I found out for the first time ever... Because the store was so empty and I was able to look around, I found out first you can actually buy pancakes which have been made.
Pancakes?
Yeah, did you know that?
What do you mean pancakes that have been made?
Well, I thought you could only get pancakes, like you get pancakes on Shrove Tuesday. I thought the only way you got them was to get a pan full of boiling fat, and then you put the mixture in that you buy in a plastic bottle and you pour it in.
Well, are you talking about like the small pancakes?
Yeah, little thin pancakes, like...
No, the very thin, like the crepes, you mean?
Yes,
yes. Are you talking about the sort of the slightly thicker but not quite so wide in circumference?
No, I'm talking about the crepes.
Crepes, okay.
Yeah.
Well, of course you can buy them.
So I didn't realise.
Really?
So I bought some.
How many?
20, I think.
20?
Yeah, I think so, yeah, in a packet, yeah.
Why?
Because I've never had them before, and I thought it'd be great.
Well, how many do you eat?
Well, the problem is I forgot to eat them, and now they've gone out of date, so I've thrown them away. But I will, now that I know...
You should just cut out the middleman, right? Buy a load of food, and then on your way home, just chuck it in the bin.
Well, no, I don't think so. Anyway, so I come out, and we're in Stockbroker Belt. We're in a nice part of Stockbroker Belt.
This is at, 6:15? Half past 6?
About 6:30.
Okay.
I walk towards my car and I use my, secret device to open the boot as I'm approaching. You see what I mean? You hear that click and
What
it
do you
opens.
mean you click the ignition key?
Yeah.
And it opens the boot.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. But then before I've even got to the car, some tramp has turned up.
Right.
I don't know where he came from. Honestly, it's like he landed from Mars because the street was empty.
Well, he probably lives there.
At that time in the morning, well, he must live somewhere around there.
Yeah, well, he probably lives on a park bench or something.
Well, I don't know, but all of a sudden, he's poking his head into my boot. No, I'm not joking.
Well, that's because you've got all that chocolate in there.
No, I haven't. I've got anything in there. I've got things in there, like, spare things and all that kind of stuff.
Do you have any out-of-date beer knocking about?
No.
You've always got loads of stuff in your boot.
I have, yeah, I agree. There's parcels and all that kind of stuff. But anyway, there's a pair of binoculars there, right, which are high-powered binoculars, which I use.
Why have you got binoculars in the boot?
Well, because if I'm ever driving on the coast and I see a very interesting ship out at sea, I stop and get out my binoculars and look at them. Like, it might be an American aircraft carrier on the Solent or something like that.
I think if there's an American aircraft carrier on the Solent, you won't need binoculars.
Well, you will, actually, to find out how many ships are parked on the... Because I counted 60 once on the deck, and I was told...
What do you mean, planes?
60 planes on the deck and another 30 below.
Uh-huh.
And in fact, that American aircraft carrier was carrying half the number of fighter planes that the RAF Air Force have got in full. Actually got in full.
The trouble is, though, if somebody sees you with some high-powered binoculars looking at a ship in the middle of the channel, which belongs to the US Navy, you might find yourself getting shot by a sniper.
No, you won't, actually, because it's well accepted that these people come down and look at the ship. But anyway, so I said to this guy, "Excuse me." And he looked around and he said, "What?" I said, "Excuse me, what are you up to?" He said, "I live here." Funny enough, what you just said, And he pointed to a block of flats down the road. But I can't believe he could, because he was a filthy down and out.
Well, I mean, your area is fast becoming a bit of a scumbucket type scenario.
No, it's not. It's not. So anyway,
you've got abandoned, vans in the street.
Yeah,
you've got sort of down and out staggering.
Well, I think that's a picture of Britain.
Like a scene out of Escape from New York.
Yeah, I think you could be right. But anyway, so he's about to pick him up, and I said, "What are you doing?" He said, "Oh, I really like your binoculars." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Why have you got them?" He said, "You look like the sporty type."
Oh, yeah.
Sporty type. What sport do you use binoculars for?
It's horse racing, no?
Well, a horse race, yeah, but I mean, usually have those in a leather case with a strap to put around your neck. These were just there, you know.
Right, haven't got a case?
It has got a case, but they weren't in the case. That's the point.
Well, you must have had to be put them away in a hurry, were you?
Yes. Well, no. I was probably viewing something.
But why didn't you put them back in the case?
Well, you don't always, because it's a big case, and you have to put 2 rubber discs on either end of the lenses. You know what I mean? It's a
very long story, this. So what happened?
Well, I said, look, I don't know what you're after, mate, but I can't help you. He said, I don't need any help. I said, well, in that case, I don't want to talk to you.
Right.
So go away. Yeah. It was a shock, though, at that time in the morning.
So did he go away?
He went away, yeah, he went away. But anyway, listen.
Well, that's not very community-spirited of you.
Well, it's not really, but I don't like people poking around in my boot,
Well, shouldn't you have been a bit more careful? I mean, next time you should look and see if there's anyone around
honestly,
when you open the boot.
Honestly, I'm telling you, it was a big, wide street. I don't know where he came from. It was like he was an apparition. But anyway, look, we should really be talking about how England got on tonight, because it's not good, is it?
No, it's
Losing
really
3-2.
No. After 10 men.
After barely drawing against Scotland.
Yeah.
And old... Pep's record now, well, it's not really Pep's. Southgate's record now.
Yeah, but I think we should keep calling him Pep. He's starting to catch on.
But Southgate's record now, of the 8 games he's been in charge of, he's won 3, drawn 3 and lost 2. That's an appalling record.
It's not good.
That is an appalling record.
Because, I mean, he has played the 2 he's lost is to Germany and to France.
Yes.
But, I mean, aside from that, he hasn't really played anybody any good, has he?
No, he hasn't, no.
I mean, he's beaten Gibraltar.
Yeah.
Right, beaten Scotland once.
Yeah.
Drawn once.
Yeah.
And I think beaten Lithuania.
Yes.
Drawn with Scotland.
That's right.
Drawn with Slovenia.
Yes.
I mean, it's
not up to much, is it?
No.
It's not up to much at all. I totally agree. Not. I totally agree.
And I mean, even the most die-hard England fans on Twitter are saying, it was a terrible, terrible performance. It really was.
Yeah.
I got this from Steve, the cabbie, though.
Right.
He says, Tramp turned up, probably thought Porky was one of his drinking buddies.
No, that's a bit harsh, isn't it?
And Adam says, lads, the busiest Morrison's is located in Gibraltar, funnily enough.
Is it?
That's what he says.
Oh, okay. That could be cross-border type thing, you know what I mean?
Did the Tramp approach Porky and give him 20 pence because he felt sorry for him, says Christopher.
Well, that's a very harsh statement, isn't it? No, listen, I'm
says, for God's sake, what is the point of this pointless story?
Yeah, well, I'm very compassionate to people like that, but the point is, they can worry you, it's a bit of a shock at that time of the morning, that's all.
I'm quite surprised that you didn't give him something out of the boot, that's all.
Well,
it's like an Aladdin's cave, your boot.
No, it's not. I did have a card or two of Porky scratching, so I could have helped him out there.
You could have given him one of those.
Yeah, I suppose I could have done, but he might not have liked them, so...
So, anyway, fascinating.
I don't want to force them upon him,
No. We'll be talking to Simon Johnson coming up a little bit later on. We will talk about the football. We will also talk about the golf, because it's US Open this week.
Yes.
We may have a few other things to say. We've got lots to talk about. We've got Porkyvision coming up later on as well.
Certainly have.
Talk Sport.
It is.
The Two Mics. Simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. Got loads of tweets coming in. You can tweet us, of course, at the Two Mics, at Mike Parry, at Talk Sport, at IROMG. Jack says, arranging affairs within the community. Does Porky live in a community of secretaries?
No.
And here's one from Scott who says, I'm surprised Porky hasn't taken over the van in the street to sell his Porky scratchings from.
Yeah, well, that's not a bad idea, actually.
And Steve says, I reckon the Tramp was actually about to puncture one of Porky's tyres, but Porky scared him off.
Yeah. Well, that's something you've got to think about, I'm telling you.
I mean, you've done well. You haven't had a puncture now for
a week.
About a week and a half.
That's right, yeah.
Fantastic. You're on a roll.
Now, it says here, does Mike Parry or Porky know you can now get milk without the need of a cow or a bucket? Modern life is great.
Yeah.
What on earth is the point of that?
I think he's trying to make fun of the fact that you didn't know you could buy crepes and or pancakes.
Oh, I see. Right, yes, okay. Yeah,
you've only just discovered that, which is a bit harsh, actually.
Yes.
David says, are there hobos living in the filthy van? Maybe the bum came out of there.
No, he didn't. No. The filthy van is nowhere near where I was, so don't worry about that.
Well, what are you going to do about this filthy van?
Well, I'm going to get rid of it. I've heard it all now. Porky's car attacked by a ghost tramp. It's like an episode of Scooby-Doo. It was a bit like that, honestly. In fact, the guy looked like the guy in Scooby-Doo, now I reflect.
What, Shaggy?
Yeah, he did,
the guy with the,
that's
sort of
right.
hairy chin.
Yeah, that's right, yeah, and he was carrying a couple of bags, like he was homeless or something like that. Bit of a shock, I'm telling you.
I'll tell you what, I think you better move from so-called stockbroker belt. It seems like it's been taken over by the ne'er-do-wells.
No, it's every neighbourhood has its problems, every home has its problems, every house has its problems. I mean, when you think that people like Jimmy Page, who lives in a £10 million house, is having problems with his neighbour.
Well, his neighbour's Robbie Williams.
Exactly, and Robbie Williams, who lives in a £15 million house, is having a problem with his neighbour, who happens to be Jimmy Page. Nobody has a free life, I'm afraid, when it comes to housing.
Well, but I mean, the point is that their trouble is slightly different from having a grotty old van parked in the middle of the street.
Well, I mean, but you see, remember that film that Maggie Smith was in about a woman who lived in somebody else's garden in a van for years in Kensington?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, all these sort of strange things happen.
I'm amazed that you would remember that, because it's not the kind of film you would have seen.
Oh, I didn't see it. I thought it was revolting. I can't stand films like that. But, I mean, I was aware of the plot,
okay.
Now, somebody here is sharing our work ethic. Dean says, hi Porky, hi MG, I'm pulling a double shift too. I have a gig in North Devon, then I'm driving straight to Gatwick for a flight to my next gig. Stay awake, says Dean. That's very interesting, Dean. Just find out.
Doing what?
Oh, Dean's a comedian.
All right.
It says here, comedian at weddingcomedian.co.uk. So give him a plug for that.
Yeah, okay.
So it looks like he goes and tells funny stories at weddings.
Oh, okay.
Tonight I'm in Warminster. People are dressed like St George and there's a dragon.
Yeah.
Mind you, that was the 22nd of April. What is it now?
What?
That was on the 22nd of April.
What are you talking about?
Sorry, I went to his Twitter feed to find out.
You're reading the top of his Twitter feed, aren't you?
but he is a comedian, and he obviously works very hard.
Right.
He's got one tonight, and he's got one somewhere else.
So where's he flying to from Gatwick?
Well, you can fly anywhere. You can fly to Scotland or Ireland or anywhere.
Fly to America as well.
Fly to America, you can fly anywhere.
But I was wondering if he actually said where he was going.
No, he didn't. But if you want to tell us where you're going, Dean, and you're still listening, because he's probably in the car now going up to Gatwick.
Yeah, very possibly.
Just send us another note, will you, mate? Let us know where you're going and where your next rendezvous is.
Indeed.
Okay.
Jamie is forwarding on a very amusing piece of video which is going around, which Theresa May will not like, and it's Theresa May
attending the Mexican way.
Well, apparently attending the football last night in Paris, because she was over there talking to Macron about one thing or another, and she's trying to do the Mexican wave and manage. I mean, how do you get the Mexican wave wrong? She manages to get it wrong.
I don't know. I'm afraid that, there's a credibility factor with...
She's just awful, isn't she?
Well, with politicians, once they lose that credibility factor, everything they do then is interpreted as being a blunder, you know what I mean?
I don't think she actually ever had any credibility, did
Well,
she?
you could be right, yeah.
Absolutely horrendous. Yeah. If you haven't seen it, I should retweet it anyway.
Now,
sure
is that a picture of Howard Stern I'm showing you now off my
on the
device?
right-hand side, yes. On the left, that's a picture of you.
Exactly.
On the right, it's a picture of Howard Stern. On the show yesterday morning, you were waxing lyrical about how great Howard Stern was and how well he'd done to get Sirius to pay him hundreds of millions of dollars.
I wasn't how great he was. I was saying how successful he was. To earn $70 million a year from one broadcasting outlet is quite spectacular. Yes. And so G. O'Hara, that's his Twitter handle, said, if I could only afford one monthly subscription to listen to one of these guys, so it's you and me, the two mics, or Howard Stern, which one would I take? Well, I don't know. That's a choice you have to make for yourself, I'm afraid.
Well, indeed.
Yeah.
Well, it's not that easy to hear Howard Stern, I think, over here. I think that's might have to be, if you live in this country, you might be stuck with us, I'm afraid.
Yes, that's right, yeah. Now,
Scott
Paul
says, are you sure you're not under surveillance, Porky?
Yeah, well, I could be. You could be absolutely right. I could be. Now, Paul here is a regular contributor, and perhaps we don't give him enough credit for that. He says, after Porky's finished dissecting Pep Southgate's failings, perhaps he can give us his thoughts on tonight's MLB.
Yes, well, you could.
Is that the New York Mets?
That'll be the Major League Baseball.
That's it. Yeah, it is the Mets lineup.
Well, Mark Donaldson's coming on later on. So
okay, so perhaps he can. Yeah, okay, yeah, great. Right, very good. Okay, so it's all happening out there, but we haven't even spoken about the England game in any sort of depth. So
because not only was it a pretty poor performance by Pep Southgate and his merry men, it was also one of the few occurrences of this new video assistant referee scenario.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So how did that all work?
Well, I think people are creating a fuss where there doesn't need to be one. As far as I was concerned, it was a penalty. The guy deserved to be penalised for the penalty and to be sent off.
Yeah.
And as far as I'm concerned, that's it. But the way it's being interpreted in some quarters is that, football's suddenly been landed with a new technological problem which we don't understand.
Yes.
I don't think that's the case at all.
Well, I mean, presumably it was used at one point, wasn't it, for the Dele Alli penalty, right?
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And it was, there seems to be some conflict about whether or not it was used correctly.
Yes.
Because the problem is, no matter how many times you look at something, people will always have a different view of it. It doesn't necessarily mean that it now solves every problem, and every time you need to give a penalty that it will actually work, right?
Yes, when you say Dele Alli penalty, I mean, obviously Kane scored it. He scored 2 goals.
Yeah, but it was a foul on Dele Alli
of course
that caused the penalty.
Yeah, it was, yeah, absolutely.
That's what I'm talking about.
Yes, absolutely, yeah. In the 48th minute. So England played the second half against 10 men of France, but still couldn't contain them, couldn't even hold them, and eventually lost out to them.
Yes. Now, I'm far more interested in what some of our MPs get up to be honest, even though we can go back to the football. But there's another great picture in the papers today, and it's a Tory MP who was caught in the House of Commons to be precise, looking at something very unusual on his phone.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't porn. It was thought that it was possibly porn when he was watching it, but it turns out it was an arty image of dancers playing backstage at a New York nightclub in 1958. Can you imagine?
Sorry, what is so bad about that?
Well, he's in the middle of presumably a debate in the House of Commons.
In a critical debate to try and hold the government together,
He's sitting there, right?
Yeah.
You see him there. He's got his phone there.
Yeah.
And he's looking at a picture of these girls here who are playing chess by the looks of it.
Right.
Sort of rather scantily clad.
Yeah.
And it's apparently taken in a New York nightclub in 1958.
It's rather unusual.
It's a very odd thing to be looking at.
Very odd thing to be looking at, indeed. Yeah.
His name is Jonathan Ginogly.
He's an MP, is he?
Multi-millionaire Tory MP, age 52.
OK, fine. You do find that MPs in the chamber do get distracted.
Yeah.
But one thing that's always been misinterpreted, and I know this from an MP friend of mine who tells me about it all the time, is sometimes when you see them lying back with their eyes closed and you think they're asleep, they're not. The ability to hear is better if you lean back on the bench and listen to a microphone planted in the top of
That's a very good excuse.
Yeah, that's what they always say. They always say, well,
do you believe that?
Yeah, I suppose I do.
I mean, it might be true.
I suppose I do.
There's no doubt that some of them have had a bit of a long lunch, though, probably.
Well, undoubtedly.
Yeah, but I suppose it's better that they're there than not there.
Yes, it is. Yes, yes, it is, without a shadow of a doubt.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, MPs these days don't work anything like the hours they used to when you and I first started in journalism, and were able to go to the House of Commons and drink until 12:30 or 1:45 in the morning, while the House was still sitting.
As long as they were still sitting.
Exactly.
And in fact, if they continued to sit until sometimes 2 or 3 in the morning, which they often did during periods of sort of very, very narrow majorities.
That's right, and trying to filibuster votes out, yes.
Yeah, then the bars would remain open.
The bars remained open as long as the House was sitting.
Yeah.
Brilliant idea.
It was a good idea. Very good indeed. Now, what have you got to say to me about about Pep Southgate's next game? Because there's now a bit of I presume a bit of a rest for all these guys.
It's now September.
Yeah.
And in fact, you and I could be on the plane with the England team.
It's in Malta, isn't it?
That's right. September the 1st.
The 1st, I think. Yeah.
And we could well be out there.
Well, we're not very likely to be on their plane. I think they've got their own plane now.
Well, I what I meant to say was on the plane, i.e. the plane going to Malta.
There's quite a lot of planes that go to Malta.
Yeah, that's right. Won't be the England plane. But anyway, look, I've been looking at the individual performances, and I have to, unfortunately, identify one particular individual. You have to question John Stones' display.
Yes.
He made mistakes and was poor in the build-up for the second goal that was scored by Jibril Sidibe. Sidibe.
Yeah.
He was also careless at times in giving possession away.
Is this the same John Stones that I said on yesterday's show makes blunder after blunder after blunder?
You did, and then you were asked how many blunders is that?
Yeah.
You said 3.
I said at least 3 minimum.
Right, people talk about him as being a ball-playing centre-half, but he has to get the defensive side of his game in shape first. For France's first goal, his defensive partner, Gary Cahill, should have been covering after Olivier Giroud loses cane.
Who?
Giroud.
Olivier Giroud.
Yeah, it was really poor goal to concede, and a year away from the World Cup, it is just naivety.
Yeah.
On England's behalf, they are learning, but the bottom line is you cannot switch off at this level.
No, quite.
Okay.
It's absolutely hopeless, isn't it?
Yes.
Well, we said this yesterday. John Stones is not really a very good defender. And I'm sorry if that may hurt people to have to admit. But the idea that they now move him into midfield doesn't necessarily make it any better. But I suppose he will make fewer mistakes that will lead to goal-scoring opportunities for the opposite team. But it looks like that's not the case either.
Yeah, I'm afraid that the evidence is building up that may well be the case.
Yes,
you know?
Absolutely right. Now, Lee says this. Stockbroker Belt sounds a right pit, Porky. Dumped vehicles, vagrants and furniture thieves.
I'm afraid so. Yeah, I'm afraid you're right. It's getting a bit that way. You know, I've got to keep an eye on the place.
Sean says, I'm doing a Porky. No sleep for me. The 2 mics it is. Those vagrants must wonder how the tramp can afford a nice sporty Merc.
Yes, that's right. They must indeed.
Yeah.
The trouble with sleep is, I do believe that if I'm on a roll and I'm full of energy and getting things done, to suddenly put my head down would be a mistake. Because I find it much more difficult to speed up than I do to speed down.
Is that right?
Yes.
Well, I'm very glad to hear it. Well, we'll be speaking very soon to Simon Johnson, who will probably be going to sleep soon.
Yeah, that'll be
he's
great.
He's still in Paris. He'll tell us what Pep Southgate said, because he looked, as ever, very sort of, earnest after the game, didn't he? And very serious.
As usual, he had the frown on his brow, his furrowed brow, and the sage nodding and the stroking of the
he's learned something.
Bewhiskered chin, I mean, it's all very philosophical stuff,
Yeah, exactly right.
We've got to learn to be able how to win games, which is, I would have thought, one of the most basic premises upon which a football manager bases his craft.
Yes, quite right too. This is Talk Sport.
People are strange when you're a stranger. Faces look ugly when you're alone. Women seem wicked when you're unwanted. Streets are uneven when you're down, when you're strange. Faces come out of the rain when you're strange.
This is Talk Sport. We are the 2 mics, and of course we are here tonight because we are not doing a show tomorrow.
That's right.
During 10 to 1 because the cricket is on. But let's take some calls. Lee is in Derby. He wants to talk about Pep Southgate and England. Lee, a very good morning to you. What would you like to say?
Good morning.
Yeah, hi Lee.
Basically, hello, how are you?
Good.
Basically, what my problem is with England is there's no consistency. They need a consistent formation, and they also need a consistent team. If you look at all the teams that have won anything, say Chelsea, Leicester last season, stuck with a consistent team, consistent formation. England chop and change year on, year out, and we always get the same results.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you there, Lee. The problem is that people say, oh, well, got to use these friendlies to experiment. I agree more with you. If Mr. Southgate knew his best team, then don't use the games to experiment. Use the games to make sure the players who he wants to go into the World Cup next year have plenty of time playing together in the same team formation.
Yeah, the problem is it's not even Southgate. It's every single manager from probably Terry Venables onwards that they don't know the right team.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but why is it as well? But why? And we always have these same arguments and same sort of debates, really, Lee, don't we? After every single game, unless there's been some incredible happening, which is unusual, that they always appear to be very underwhelmed. They always appear to be unable to play at the sort of the skill level that they play every weekend in the Premier League with.
It's because they keep chopping and changing it. It's like Gareth Southgate's looked at the Chelsea format and thought, three at the back. Yeah. We'll go three at the back. But England aren't suited to three at the back, and the players aren't used to playing at three at the back. And I think defensively we look very vulnerable today because he is chopping and changing so much.
Yeah.
And for me, Stones isn't an England player. And neither is the bit part players that play the game today, like Sterling.
Right.
Yeah.
They're not England players.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right, Lee. And the old experimentation thing, I always think is sometimes a manager can look more philosophical. I've tried this dreamy idea that John Stones can be a defensive midfield player. I mean, why bother wasting your time experimenting with those sort of things? Why not just play players who have played in that position for their club and stick them in the England team with an England shirt on?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yes, exactly. Thank
with
you.
The second goal, John Stones, before he did a massive miss kick.
Yeah.
And no one really picked up on it. But
no, it's like a joke.
He tried to play the ball, massive miss kick, and then knocked across, and France. There we go.
That's right. Absolutely.
I don't know where it ever came out that John Stones was a great footballer. I mean, he was given this reputation at Everton as being this great, sort of European-style Barcelona-type, defender.
Yeah.
But, I mean, to be honest, and I know we had this argument with a Manchester City fan earlier in the week, but to be honest, I mean, I've never seen John Stones doing anything where you kind of went, oh, my God, that was amazing.
Yeah, well, I have. I've seen him move out. I mean, his timing has been quite brilliant, and his reading of the game's very good. And I've seen him in an Everton shirt moving across the area and cutting out, a through ball very accurately and very competently. But the problem is, I think he started to believe his own publicity, if you see what I mean. And when people start telling him you're actually
Franz Beckenbauer.
You're the next Franz Beckenbauer. I think he started trying to play like Beckenbauer. Yeah, no, I agree with that.
That's not very good. Dean, who we were talking about before, he says he's en route to Ibiza for a gig.
Oh, is he?
Yeah.
Excellent. That's great.
Thanks for keeping me entertained. Keep up the good work.
Yeah, Ibiza, eh? That's not bad, is it? I've never
been to Ibiza.
No, I don't think I have either.
Really?
No, I've been to Mallorca a few times. Yeah. I've never been to Ibiza.
I know one of those times you showed up when I was there.
Of course I did. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
I think I would have forgotten that.
Yes, that's right.
Jamie says this: England players are overhyped, play well for their club. Everyone thinks they can all play well together. John Stones a defender? ?
Yes.
I don't know what that means.
Yes.
Are you saying he's not a defender, or are you saying it's ridiculous to think of him as a defender?
What he's got to do is, as he started as a defender and got good at it, then he should have practised his craft. John Terry knew from the age of about 14 he was going to be a defender, so that's all he did.
Right.
And, when he went into training sessions, he went into training sessions to try and deliberately improve himself in his position.
And also, he takes great pride, John Terry, in stopping a goal being scored.
That's right, he does,
Whereas John Stones, you don't get the idea that's what he wants to do.
He
wants to kind of bring the ball out of the penalty area and pass it very, very languidly up to somebody who's going to score a goal.
You know the thing about putting your body on the line?
Yeah.
I mean, you do see John Terry throwing himself in front of a ball as though it was a grenade that was going to explode and kill all the people around you.
And you've got to be that kind of personality if you're going to be a decent defender.
Yes, that's right.
You don't have to be somebody who's all stylish and who wants to bring the ball out and pass it to somebody else.
There's a lot to be said for that.
Yeah, there is. Indeed.
Right. So, the verdict so far in England, not too good. What else can we look at? Everybody's saying that Raheem Sterling was a big positive for England.
Really? Well, not our last caller, it wasn't.
No, exactly. I think he blows hot and cold. is Gareth Southgate trying to back three last night, highlighted England's problems in midfield.
Yeah.
Is Alex Oxlade-Chamberlain good enough? That's a question we have to ask.
No, I don't think he is. I mean, most of the back pages are saying that France have outclassed the English team after the ref's video howler.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Flawed is what it says on the back page of the Sun. Video ref row, but the Lions still lose to 10 men.
Yep. Yep.
You know, I mean, there's nothing particularly worth cheering about here. Kane scores twice, but still loses out to 10 men. Harry Kane.
Yeah. I mean, Kane is emerging, isn't he, as such a terrific footballer, and I know that he's...
God, he must be frustrated as well.
Well, I was going to say, I know he's not playing in the best international team, but he's nevertheless, so that means that he has the chance to shine amongst others who are perhaps not performing as well as him. Nevertheless, you get the feeling that he's still only 23, I think, isn't he, Harry Kane?
He is, yeah.
And he shows tremendous presence. When I saw him interviewed after the game, you know, he wasn't making any excuses. He said, it was very disappointing, you know, should have done more, we should have got across the 10 men.
He said when he scored 2 goals against France, he expected to win the game.
He did, so you're absolutely right.
If
you go away from home and score 2 goals in an international, you should expect to get something out of it, and they didn't. You're quite right.
And I think that's a fairly decent point to make.
Yeah, of course.
But most of the back pages actually are focusing on your club, Everton, and this goalkeeper they bought.
Yeah.
Take your pick, it says on the back page of the Daily Mirror. Everton have taken the first step towards a potential £150 million summer revolution.
That's right, yeah. It says Everton will smash their transfer record to sign Jordan Pickford, £30 million deal with Sunderland. There is a new era in transfer valuations. Our previous record is £28 million for Lukaku.
Right.
But
he's gone very quiet, hasn't he?
It's gone very quiet. But the Lukaku, if he goes, he's going to go probably for about £80 million.
Yeah.
So that says to you, whatever players were worth 2 years ago, they're worth about 3 times that now, frankly.
Right.
And that's sure. I mean, Everton offered an initial £8 million, I think.
Well, their asking price is more. It's not necessarily that they're actually worth more.
Yes, that's right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. It's interesting, isn't it, that the lad's gone just ahead of the under-21 tournament he's playing in Poland.
Yeah.
And I'm told, somebody told me that he wanted to get the transfer out of the way before the tournament started because he didn't want to,
But I was told yesterday as well.
Didn't want to be having to get involved in it during the tournament.
He won't be able to actually finally to sign on the dotted line until he's had a medical, which he won't be able to do until he's come back from this tournament.
Yeah, that's absolutely right.
So technically speaking, he's not yet an Everton player.
And technically speaking, there is a risk because goalkeepers can get injured. And if he gets kicked in the head during this tournament, where does that then put
let's hope that doesn't happen.
Let's hope very much it doesn't happen. But where does that put the structure of the deal? You know what I mean?
Steve says it was Porky who was talking Stones up. Oh, hang on. Now he's talking about Harry Kane. Is he going to jinx him as well?
No, I'm not.
We are bad enough as it is.
No, I don't think you can jinx Harry Kane. I think he's got tremendous personality and character, and I think he has for a man who's so young, I think he has a terrific acceptance of the ups and downs of footballing life. You know what I mean? He never tries to make excuses for things that go wrong, and he's not unable to enjoy the success that he's reaped through his own efforts.
And he doesn't strike you as a guy that does anything that you wouldn't want him to do.
No.
You know what I mean?
Yes,
I mean, I was disappointed yesterday when I saw the picture of that young guy from the under-20s World Cup winning team prancing about with his girlfriend, who was very scantily clad, with the actual trophy. Yeah. Because I just didn't think that's the sort of thing you should be doing.
Well, I think you're being a bit harsh there. The lad had scored the winning goal in a World Cup final, the first England have been involved in since 66. Why shouldn't he share that with the nearest and dearest to him?
Well, I just didn't think he looked right.
And produce the old trophy.
I didn't think he looked right at all. I thought it was definitely very much the wrong thing to do.
It's like the old thing, isn't it, about inverted snobbery. Brian Clough, when they won the League Cup, I think about the 3rd time on the row, was asked, how was the procession home with the cup, Brian? And he said, don't ask me, young man. The boys went their way and I went mine. I took the cup home in the back seat of my car and I put it on top of the tally while the kids and I had fish and chips and watched Match of the Day.
Yes.
It's inverted snobbery.
Yes.
We're telling you the League Cup. You know what I mean?
But that's absolutely right. But what you wouldn't want to do is have it passed around between a bunch of people and their girlfriends. I just don't think that's the right thing to do at all.
Well, I think that's quite classy.
No, you think it's classy?
Yeah.
Did you see the pictures?
Yes, and she was one of the best-looking women I've ever seen. That's why I think it's quite classy.
Best-looking women you've ever seen?
Don't you think she was?
No.
Why?
Well, I haven't got time to tell you now because we have to stop talking.
Well, you need your eyes tested.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Make commitment, you're an embarrassment. Yes, an embarrassment, a living endorsement. The intention that you have booked
Talk Sport, we are the two mics. Lots more coming up, including Postman Pork and Porkyvision. 2 for 1 you get in the show tonight, by the way.
That's
right. Lots more coming up, of course, tomorrow. The cricket's on, so we won't be doing the show from 10 to 1. We'll be back, though, on Thursday. Let's talk now to Simon Johnson, who's over in Paris for the Standard.
Parry.
He watched the performance last night, and I dare say he will have a view as to how bad it actually was. Simon, very good morning to you.
A very good morning, Mike.
So,
how are you doing?
Yeah, not
Very
bad
well
at all.
indeed.
Not bad at all, but not very pretty reading, you'd have to say, for old Gareth Southgate, or Pep Southgate, as we like to call him. Another miserable performance and losing to 10 men. There's not a lot of joy to be had, is there?
No, I mean, what a missed opportunity it was to get a huge win over a very good side, even though they made 5 changes. The lineup that France put out last night was frightening, and as Kylian Mbappé sort of making one of his first starts for France showed what a huge, classy talent he is. But I mean, England had a huge opportunity there. You know, you equalised with pretty much the whole of the second half to play.
Yeah.
And
against 10 men
sent off, and if anything, bizarrely, it was the worst thing that could have happened because England seemed to lose their heads, didn't really seem to know how to deal with the situation, and France actually became an even better side with 10 men.
Yeah.
So you're watching it going, wow, this is now they blew a 2-goal lead against Spain in a friendly. They lost to Germany in a friendly, and now they've lost to France in a friendly. It's a massive reality check for Gareth Southgate and the huge job that he has on his hands with the World Cup starting a year ago. This time next year it starts.
I mean, now, in his defence a bit, Simon, he's put around this mantra this week, which I'm sure you've picked up on as well, that, I don't mind losing games. That's why I asked for friendlies against Germany and France, which I think are our next 2 friendlies. And that's all very well. But, I don't get that. Winning becomes contagious and habitual and feeling good. It gives you a feel-good factor. So I don't know which road he's going down there. And the other thing is, Simon, why doesn't he use the friendlies to play a consistent team instead of experimenting? Because he hasn't got many games to go until we get to Russia.
True. Well, you could argue he has experimented to a degree, and clearly this 3-4-3 formation, which he's brought in quite recently, is a sign that he's trying to work on things. And clearly, as has been shown last night at Stade de France, it needs an awful lot of work because defensively, England looked like they were going to concede every time a French player advanced beyond the halfway line. It was pretty frightening stuff. But I think we have to get real here, really. England had the worst World Cup ever, arguably USA defeat in the 1950 World Cup aside, the worst and most embarrassing defeat in the European Championship in a major game last year to Iceland. So it's not as if Southgate has inherited a winning side anyway. Yes, we can.
But don't you think that there's potential here for him to make it even worse in Russia?
How's that? How can he make it any worse?
Well, I think he can. I mean, they went out after 2 games. I mean, they could go out after 2 games, only losing by an even bigger margin.
Yes, that's true. That is true. No, I mean, I think I think an element of perspective is needed because let's be honest, France, they were the finalists of Euro 2016. They have a fantastic array of riches. The fact that Antoine Griezmann, a player that United were willing to spend an absolute fortune on before he signed a new deal, wasn't even in the squad or even in the first team last night, just sort of says it all, really. Yeah. That they can make a number of changes and that there's no real dip in quality. Whereas England, you sort of look at the players we have available. Yes, there's a lot of potential there still, but it tends to be more hype than substance. Yeah. There's a lot of players in there that, in contrast to Mbappé, where you sort of think, yes, the hype is justified. You look at someone like John Stones, who cost £50 million a year ago, and sort of think, well, we're still waiting for this £50 million sort of for him to actually justify the transfer fee because he does look anything but a £50 million player.
No, well, that is the problem, and I mean, we hear over time, don't we, the same old story that it's very difficult for the England manager to get the best out of Premier League players. We keep hearing that, for example, they're all very tired after a long season. They got pre-season tours to get involved in, post-season tours to get involved in. They play too much football. How is that going to be any different when they go to the World Cup?
Well, it's not. That's the thing.
Right.
We can almost. You can book me in for a phone call in about
12 months, right?
And 2 weeks' time, because we'll probably be having the same conversation. I mean, it is utterly bizarre that Tottenham, they had a fantastic season, and yet the first thing they do is go off for a sort of a post-season friendly, and it's been no coincidence that all the Tottenham players are, yes, of course, Kane scored 3 goals, but in a way, for example, the goal he scored against Scotland papered over the cracks of what was a pretty average performance by his very high standards.
Yes.
And you look at Eric Dyer, for example, the 2 performances he put in against Scotland and France were very disappointing. And you sort of go back to the fact that every year we talk about this nonsense of a winter break. It's kind of like, it's almost like, if we have a winter break, suddenly we become world beaters. But you just know full well that if a winter break comes in, then clubs will just arrange sort of friendlies to make some more money in the meantime.
Right. Of course they will.
We should concentrate on technique and sort of trying to get this inferiority complex out of our psychology.
Well, a lot of people analysing the game last night as well said the difficulty and the really bad news, I suppose, from Southgate's point of view, is that when France went down to 10 men, he didn't seem to know what to do. He didn't seem to know how to kind of rearrange the formation of the team to maximise, England's advantage.
No, but then, let's be honest, Southgate is learning on the job as well. His CV doesn't exactly show a rich history of success at the highest level.
No, it doesn't.
But isn't that ridiculous, though?
Well, look at the options we had after the sort of Sam Allardyce story, which was embarrassing in itself, that he lost his job after one game.
Yeah.
It wasn't like there was a huge amount of options available. I have been impressed with some of the things he's done. I like the sort of team bonding exercise, even though it might sort of be more, sort of good PR than in actual delivering results. If you sort of think that bonding session with the Marines has actually sort of brought the net result has been a 2-2 draw with Scotland, a 3-2 defeat to France. But I like some of that. I like the fact that he's brought in England legends to, like Lee Dixon tweeted last night that he was presenting new cap to Kieran Trippier. He presented the shirt. I like that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, Southgate didn't exactly pull up that many trees at Middlesbrough, and he did impress England under 21 level and won the Toulon tournament. But this is a huge step up in class. And he naturally is going to make mistakes as well.
Yeah, but the thing is, Simon, I think he tries to, sort of present himself now as the philosopher sort of coach manager. You know what I mean? The deep thinker.
Yeah, I mean, he doesnn't give the impression of someone who believes that he's learning on the job. He comes across as a guy who knows everything there is to know about football.
That's right. Sagely,
stroking his chin,
stroking his whiskers on his chin, and the furrowed brow and the nodding head, and
that's what I do.
Well, exactly, and we always think you know nothing about what you're talking about when you're doing that, and that's the impression we get from Gareth Southgate. I mean, seriously.
Sadly, I'm paid a lot less.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? I prefer a guy who answers questions like Harry Redknapp does, rather than, going into all sorts of gobbledygook about, well, you've got to take the positives and all that. There's no positives if you lose. And I mean, let's face it, at the end of the day, if you looked at those 2 European teams off to Russia next year, which one looks more likely to make progress in the competition?
It's let's just say it's a far more clear-cut answer than we had in the general election last week.
Yes,
it's a landslide, isn't it? Everyone would vote for France. It's a ridiculous embarrassment of riches that they have to call upon. Whereas we're putting our hopes on Dele Alli, who's clearly got talent, but can he step up to the highest level?
Yeah.
Harry Kane, who's a phenomenal goal scorer. Let's be honest, he's scored 28 goals now for Tottenham and England in this calendar year, which is incredible receiver, and will sort of give us some source for hope. But the challenge for Southgate now over this next year is to sort of bond England into a cohesive unit, an organised unit, and to come up with a game plan. Because I felt last summer in the Euros that Portugal weren't an outstanding team, but what they had was a plan. and they had togetherness, and that was those two, and of course an outstanding player in Cristiano Ronaldo, and those three factors combined together was enough for them to win a major tournament. It's up to Southgate now to avoid the mistakes of his predecessors and actually come up with a game plan that will work, that everyone buys into, that they know what they're doing, and perhaps the stardust that the potential of Dele Alli and Harry Kane can provide might make the difference. But let's be honest, you put a lot of money on France to win the tournament and not much money on England right now.
No, exactly right. Speaking of politics, we saw Theresa May was at the game and managed to miss the Mexican wave. I assume your new boss, George Osborne, will be asking for a sidebar on that, won't he?
I'll leave George to. He's been very prolific over the last few weeks to come up with his own assessment of Theresa May's performance, as he has been doing so well.
Indeed,
for quite a while now. But
I mean, when you see a still picture of that, she looks like a complete fool.
Yeah.
You know,
well,
standing up waving her arms. No, she's standing up waving her arms around while everybody else around her is sitting down and looking at it.
She missed the Mexican wave. How do you do that?
Yeah, I don't know. But
shocking stuff.
Yes.
Well, anyway, listen, mate, are you staying there tonight, or are you coming back in the morning? What are you doing?
I'm now going to write my copy for the Evening Standard, and then I'll be flying back in the afternoon. But yes, if nothing else, Paris is always a delight, and I hasten to add all the tributes. The tributes to the terrorist attacks, the victims of the terrorist attacks. It was a really nice touch, and let's be honest, it was. For a friendly, it was a fantastic night of entertainment, and in a way, it was more of a tribute than all the things that preceded the game.
Sure. Yeah, I tell you what it was, Simon. It was an acceptance that terrorism is an international problem.
Well, indeed,
it really
absolutely is. Lots more to come, of course, in the next hour. This is TalkSport. TalkSport, we are the two mics. We've got lots of great tweets to read out as well, of course. We've been talking about a great many things. You see that Claudio Ranieri's got a new job, by the way. Just heard that in the sports headline.
Nantes, I knew about that.
Nantes?
Do you know why?
Why?
Earlier, they had to revise the rules of the French Football Association to allow a manager to be appointed over the age of 65.
Really?
Because he's over the age of 65.
Why do they have that rule?
Sorry?
Why do they have that rule?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I suppose...
obviously, we don't have that rule, do we? I presume.
We don't have that rule because a number of our... Well, I mean, Alex Ferguson went on until the age of 72.
What about Roy Hodgson?
Roy Hodgson, he was elderly. Sir Bobby Robson, the late.
I mean, you were at the FA. I mean, did they discuss these things?
No, we didn't. I mean, considering Bert Millerchip, who was the chairman, the man known as Bert the Inert, because he was so incapable of doing anything. He was about 83 when he retired.
Right.
And I remember meeting him for the first time. What a bumbling old, codger he was. Yeah.
What age was he?
Well, he was about 83 when I met him.
Right.
That was, in the 90s. So I'm assuming that Bert is now,
Is he still around, Bert?
I doubt if he's around. If you are around, Sir Bert, it was Sir Bert Millerchip, Sir Bert the Inert, then I hope you're still enjoying life. But if you are, you'll be about 110 or something.
I'm sure he speaks very highly of you, though.
Yeah.
That'd be the main thing. I'm sure he speaks very highly of you.
I don't think so. No.
I'll try to find out exactly where Nantes are finished, but I shall let you know when I find that out.
Okay. I'm sure we're all very desperately anxious
I think it's important to know.
Find that out.
Well, because what if he does a Leicester again, and then you will have to admit that he's a great manager?
I couldn't care less if he did a Leicester at Nantes.
Why?
Well, because it's of no interest to me. The French Football Association is of absolutely no interest to me.
All right.
And I don't know why it's of interest to you. Now, what time are we talking to old Mark Donaldson about golf?
About 2:30.
About 2:30. Okay, that's good, yeah. Now, I need to talk to you about something else before then,
I just found Nantes. They finished 7th. 51 points against 95 points. It was Monaco.
Nice town, though.
Nantes, is it?
Yeah, nice town.
When did you go there?
I'm not sure, but some years ago.
During some football tournament?
No, it was a...
you went on holiday?
No, it was when I was a reporter.
Oh, yeah.
And some madman...
was that the court story?
There's a court story,
was that when you fell in the concrete mixer?
Fell in the concrete, that's right. Yeah, fell in the concrete mixer. And some mad guy who was in the dock 1 minute smashed his way out the dock and then strapped an explosive device.
Shooting people or something?
Yeah, he strapped an explosive device around the judge's throat. Right. Nobody moved.
Where were the gendarmerie?
Well, they weren't inside the court. They were outside smoking their guitons.
Gitans.
The Gitans. They're very laid back in France. Most of France is laid back.
Yeah.
And they were getting stuck in the Gitans outside. The judge was being threatened with having his head blown off.
Right.
And this guy wanted... I mean, it was mad. It was like a Dirty Harry film, helicopter and, money and, all this kind of stuff,
Is that the French words for helicopter and money?
That's right, yeah, really? Absolutely, yeah. But, of course, it didn't work, and then they got him. But not before he nearly shot me.
Well, luckily he missed, otherwise you wouldn't be here, would you?
Yeah, it was true.
Yeah.
I saw the flash of the gun, I wonder what that was. And then you hear a ping on the wall behind you. That's why I dived into the concrete mixer.
No, very good.
Try and get away.
Okay.
But anyway, that's another thing. Now, you often accuse me of being obsessed by being liked, okay?
Obsessed with being liked?
Yes.
Well, you quite like to be popular, don't you?
I like people to respect me for what I am. But apparently, am I popular? There's a new website out in which you can gauge your popularity. I'm going to ask you a few questions this time, okay?
Why not, indeed?
Right. How many likes do you aim to get when you post on Instagram? Would you be happy with 100, 1,000, at least double digits, mainly from people you know, or more from strangers?
Well, I guess I'd have to use something other than Instagram because I don't really post things on Instagram. I've got an Instagram account, but I only use it for my family. So nobody else has got access to it.
Okay,
so if I was to say my Twitter account...
Yes, your Twitter account, yeah.
I don't really bother about how many likes I get, to be honest.
Really?
It doesn't really bother me.
Well, when I do like to get a positive response because I like to feel I'm in touch with the people who are in touch with me.
What I will do occasionally is check to see exactly how much exposure the tweet that I've sent out has got.
Right.
Just because sometimes that's worth doing.
Yes.
Because you now can do that on the software that we have.
Yes.
So, for example, if I was to go all the way back... to find something that I posted, which is not real. It's something that I haven't said directly to somebody else.
Yes.
And if it's got sort of 4, 5, 6,000, that's not bad.
Okay,
something
so
like that.
You're right with that. Yeah.
But I don't obsess about it. Do you know what I mean?
You're not obsessed about it.
No.
Okay, right. Now, second question.
Yes.
And there's only 5, so we get through these quickly. Right. How often do you throw dinner parties at home?
I don't.
The answers are A, every weekend, bring a bottle and a friend and your neighbour if you like. B, on special occasions.
Yeah.
C, never.
Never.
Give me an evening on the sofa with a glass of red and a book any day.
Well, apart from the book.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. And your family, I suppose.
Yes, exactly.
So you don't throw dinner parties?
No, I mean, there was a time in my life when I did.
Right.
But it was very much a kind of thing driven by my ex-wife, to be honest.
Right, okay.
She used to quite like throwing dinner parties.
I think dinner parties are the most boring things.
Terrible.
I can't stand going to a dinner party if I don't know half the people around the table, because I don't want to be with them if I don't know them.
Well, I think there's a time in your life when that seems to be an interesting thing to do.
Yeah, when you're out in your 30s.
Yeah, but you kind of get a bit bored with it, to be honest. And I mean, also, the other thing was I always used to end up getting into a row with somebody there. And
yes.
There was always ill feeling.
That's right. And there's always political differences. Yeah. Right, number 3. How will you celebrate your next birthday? A, with cocktails, canapes, and 40 of your closest friends. B, low-key dinner with my other half, i.e. your other half.
Yeah.
Or C, the same as last year.
Well, I don't think your other half.
Hang on. Lying low and hoping no one will mention it. Which of the 3?
I think it will be the middle one.
The middle one?
Yeah.
Low-key dinner with the other half?
Yes, probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or maybe a boozy brunch with, it says here, with the girls if they insist. In this case, with the boys. I think this is written from a women's point of view.
Why can't I have one with the girls?
Well, you can with the girls if you want. Yeah?
Well, yeah, but I'm not sure whether I'd be allowed to do that. But
right, okay.
Sounds good.
And here you go. What do you do when you're invited out for drinks with colleagues? Is it A, invited... You're joking, I'm the one who does the asking. Is it B, I'll go but just for 1 or 2 at a push?
Yeah.
Or C, I tell them I already have plans and then I slip off home for some peace?
Well, it's none of the above, really. I mean, because I wouldn't ever be arrogant enough to say I'm the one that does the inviting.
Yeah.
I wouldn't also be arrogant enough to just go for it. It depends who's asking me. I mean, if it's people that I like.
Yeah.
I'll be more than happy to go along
Yes.
and see how it goes.
Yes. I mean, it's a bit formal to say, what do you do when you're invited out for drinks with colleagues?
Yeah.
I mean, you say to people you work with, she'll have a couple of jars after the
exactly.
show or something, yeah.
I mean, there's probably certain people who work here who, if they asked you out for a drink, or possibly me as well, you might say, actually, I'm washing my hair.
No, I don't say I'm washing my hair, but I say
you know what I mean.
things to go on to do.
I'm being facetious.
Yeah, I'm a bit selective about people I want to drink with.
I don't go drinking with everybody.
No, I totally agree. And here's the last one, but you've already answered it. What's your attitude to Twitter? A, if you think it, tweet it. B, useful at crucial moments. C, another way to waste time.
Yeah. Well, it's not a waste of time because it's very much part of our job.
Yes.
But it can be an interesting place.
Yes.
It can be a very sort of painful place. It can be a very cruel place.
Yes, you're right.
But it can be quite a funny place.
Yes, it can be a funny place.
You have to try and strike a balance.
Okay. Well, that came from a new report I read in one of my social journals.
So, what conclusion can you draw about whether I want to be popular or not?
Well, if you'd have answered mostly A's from that questionnaire, you care so much you may just donate an organ in exchange for 100,000 extra followers, i.e. some people are desperate just to be popular, okay?
Yes.
If it was mainly B's, it means you're conflicted. You want to be liked, but you also think there's more to life. You enjoy a night in front of TV or with a book, but when you're out with your friends, you could be the life and soul of the party. Or if you're in the C's category, social media, no thanks. A night out, only if I have to. You think social media is what's wrong with modern society, and being at home is far better. So I would say basically you're around about the B's somewhere.
Somewhere in the middle.
Yeah. You don't mind having a night, a few drinks with friends and all that, but you like to know where to draw the line and call it a day.
Yes. I think the bottom line is, as I said earlier, depending on what sort of age you are and what sort of stage of life that you are at.
Yes.
You tend to get... I mean, I don't get invited to dinner parties really now.
No, I don't either. I don't want to be.
Whereas there was a time...
I've turned too many down.
When I lived in Wiltshire,
yes.
There was a sort of a group of parents, I suppose, that had their kids at school.
A clique.
And the kids played with each other, and so there would be a sort of general...
Yes.
Every so often
clique.
somebody would have a dinner party and you'd all go to their house.
Yes.
It wasn't really a clique, but it was just people that used to sort of hang around, and all the kids would play together, and it was quite a handy thing to do,
Yeah. I prefer to be able to be completely in control of my socialising situation, and that's why...
Also, if you're on your own, and I'm not being funny, if you're not a couple, you tend not to get invited to dinner parties either.
No, I totally agree with that as well, and I don't want to be. But what I'm saying is that I feel so uncomfortable in a group. So if there's 8 or 10 people all together, it's chaotic. Somebody goes up to order a drink at the bar and it takes 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You sit down for a meal in a restaurant, 10 of you, and what happens is the meal takes 40 minutes to arrive, and then when it does, 3 of them are wrong and they've got to go back, and I can't stand all that.
The only time I ever do anything like that, really, is on holiday. When you came to Mallorca, and we met at that restaurant. It was beautiful, a big open-air restaurant overlooking the sea, and it was a very nice, hot, sunny day. And we were drinking and eating, and it was fine, because we didn't have anywhere to go.
No, but we know each other very well, so we can handle a situation like that. It's when come and join us, and you don't know anybody. You can't exercise any authority over the group.
No.
Because then people think you're arrogant, or they think that you're demanding or antisocial, and you've got to be able to stay in control of these things. When I see a bunch of people come into a pub and they pile in, and it's either a hen night or it's a leaving do or something like that, I just, honestly, I just find it appalling that they need each other so much to be able to think that they're having a good time. I can have a good time sat in a closed room on my own.
Yeah, well, and you often do.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's right.
The locked room.
That's right. I haven't got a locked room, but sometimes I will sit in a closed room and contemplate and meditate.
Good.
And find out the meaning of life.
Excellent.
I'm still trying to.
Yes, I know. I got this one here from somebody whose name I can't find at the moment, but they said that basically just as well... Oh, here we go, Ben. Good job TalkSport doesn't have that over 65 rule. Porky would have been signing on 4 or 5 years ago.
Oh, that's very nice, isn't it?
It's not very nice, is it?
No,
very
it's
harsh,
not very
that.
nice. Very harsh.
This is TalkSport.
Very harsh.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on TalkSport and Talk Radio.
It's a wonderful night, you gotta take it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night, you gotta shake it from me. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night, everybody can see. It's a wonderful night, come on and break it on down. It's a wonderful night.
Did you know that Michael Palin, the Monty Python member, has donated a load of notebooks and sketches and ideas and things to the British Library?
Has he?
So that they can be held in perpetuity.
Sorry, is this original artistic work from the original Monty Python series?
Absolutely
that's
right.
Brilliant. Yeah.
But what's interesting is that it's got a few figures in there, right?
Yeah.
Documents which he's donated include documents which show that John Cleese made £2 million when they did the reunion tour for Monty Python, right?
Yeah.
But when he was actually doing it originally, the BBC offered him just 12 guineas a minute.
In the original series in like the 70s.
Yeah, which is the equivalent of about £5,700 a show.
Right.
Which I suppose then is a reasonable amount
of money. $5,000 a show in those days. Yeah, I certainly do. Yeah.
Well, it says here that, he was paid a lot. I mean, it was a lot less than getting something like $2 million, though, for that reunion tour.
Yeah, sure, yeah. But, I mean, he needed that, didn't he, to pay off all his alimony bills and all that kind of stuff. Yeah.
But, I mean, when you think about people like the cast of Friends, who I think by the time Friends finished were getting $75,000 an episode.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, something like that, yeah.
It's peanuts, isn't it?
I remember once when Larry Hagman came over here, so that must have been in the 80s when I was a reporter in London.
Is this when you were pictured with him?
Yeah, pictured with him, yeah. And he met the cast of Coronation Street.
Yeah.
And for some unknown reason, Americans always do. You know, what do you get here?
Oh, well, they ask you straight away, don't they?
Yeah.
Americans just say right out, how much money do you make?
Yeah, that's right, yeah. And so they said, how much money do you make? So, somebody like, Ken Barlow, Bill Roach, said something like... whoa, we're not doing badly these days. 55,000. And Larry Hagman said...
is that per episode?
Exactly. $75,000 a show. That's not bad,
Yeah.
And Ken had to meekly admit, no, that's our annual salary.
Yeah, right.
Yeah,
it's not very good.
Bit different, yeah.
Brummy says this, wasn't Porky meant to be the man of the people? After his quiz, you sound more like the people's views, more on our level.
Yeah.
Hashtag MG is the man of the people.
Yeah, we've got to remember that MG lies about it.
Not at all.
So,
I'm absolutely... No, I'm very truthful about this.
It's difficult to find a straightforward appraisal of MG.
Really?
Now then, what am I going to say to you? I was going to say to you that...
I don't know.
Bert the Inert, in return, he called Porky Flash Parry. Ha 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 ha. No, that's not very funny, is it?
That's not very funny at all, no.
Because Bert the Inert actually probably won't even remember who I was, even if he was still around today.
Right.
Now then, why is everybody, because I know we're talking to Mark and Renee, why is everybody having a go at Everton's new goalkeeper just because he costs £30 million?
Well, because it's very, very expensive. We were listening in the news there to what some people have been saying about
Mickey
it.
Gray?
Mickey Gray was talking about it.
Saying a great bargain and all that kind of stuff?
Well, no, he was saying that he deserves to play in the Premier League, but the original offer was something like $8 million.
That's right.
That came in, then it went to 20, and then it went to 30.
Yes.
And, I mean, I wasn't aware that Everton were in so desperate need for a goalkeeper, are they?
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Because he brought Stecklenburg in, which was he was a Dutchman.
He did all right, didn't he, Stecklenburg?
He did all right, but, I mean, then he had to replace him. And
then you have Robles.
We had Robles, absolutely.
Who's all right as well.
Yeah, all right, I agree. But what you want is an outstanding goalkeeper.
But is this guy Pickford outstanding? I mean, I've never heard anybody talking about Jordan Pickford at Sunderland as the next big thing.
Well,
never heard anyone say that.
No, towards the end of the season, everybody said that the only positive, the only positive point in the whole of the Sunderland story last season was the form of Jordan Pickford, their goalkeeper.
Well,
and obviously,
Jermaine Defoe was the only person anybody ever talked about.
Yeah, well,
he's now gone to Bournemouth.
Well, they did. They had him up in attack, and they had Pickford at the back, and nothing in between. I'm afraid.
Yeah.
And everybody said that when he goes down, Pickford will have to move on. So.
Yes.
So I think that...
I mean, were they having to get into a bidding war with somebody else? Is that why his price went up so high?
I'm not sure if it was a bidding war, but I do think Mr. Koeman's bright enough to realise that if he didn't go to Everton, he might go to one of their rivals, and that in itself would be a damaging development.
Yes.
So I think he decided that with the funds available under our new owner, or the new structure of football plus our new owner, it was wise to spend the money on him, and I think it's great that you've got a goalkeeper that young who could be with you for a decade.
Very possibly so.
Yes.
Well, we'll see how he turns out.
Yes.
What about Pogba's brother? Because he's apparently going to be signed by Koeman as well.
Is he?
Yeah.
Are you sure about this?
Yes, it's a story which is doing the rounds.
Yeah.
And I think I can tell you precisely. He's not exactly as well known as his better known brother.
Yes.
But I think he's a defender, and he's supposed to be coming to Everton.
Oh, I don't know about that.
No?
I know, the players that we know he is after include Sandro Ramirez for £5.2 million.
Where's he coming from?
He's coming from Malaga.
Okay.
He's a striker at Malaga. He's also after the Ajax captain Davy Klaassen.
Yeah.
And the one we've already talked about, Swansea playmaker Gylfi Sigurdsson.
Yeah, well, Gylfi Sigurdsson's a pretty well-known player. You say his name as if you've never heard of him.
No, I do.
He played for Spurs, didn't he?
Yes, I think he did.
And then he went to Swansea.
That's right, yeah. And also... the Burnley centre-back Michael Keane, who apparently was on his way to Manchester United until Jose found what he described as a bigger centre-half from a European club, Valencia or somewhere like that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, according to this report, Everton are considering a move for Paul Pogba's brother, Florentine.
Yeah.
He's coming in to strengthen their defence. He's from Saint-Etienne.
Oh, Saint-Etienne, right, okay.
So they will face stiff competition from last season's Bundesliga runners-up, RB Leipzig.
Yeah, Saint-Etienne, very Francais. Yeah.
But I think Pogba's got a couple of brothers, I think, because there was one other brother as well.
Was there?
Yeah.
Okay.
But, so
well,
we never know.
Doesn't make him a bad person, obviously.
Well, no.
No.
I wouldn't say that.
Absolutely right. Now then, what I need to talk to you about, is the shape of your face.
What?
Your shape of your face.
The shape of my face?
Yes, right, okay.
Well, how many different shapes have you got in front of you?
Well, it's very interesting, this, because it came from one of my scientific journals.
Really?
Why we like names that fit faces, right? Now, people may dislike you if they think your name does not match your face, right?
Right.
So, for instance, names that we need to make round shapes with our lips to pronounce, such as Bob, right? Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
George, or Gordon.
So you mean anything with an O in it?
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right. Are a better fit with people with rounder faces. Okay, they fit to people with rounder faces. Now, if you have an angular name such as Mike, like me, Vic.
What do you mean, like you?
Well, my name's Mike.
So's mine.
Yeah. Oh, yours as well. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So
it's easy to remember because we know there's two Mikes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So if you have angular names like Mike, Vic,
Jack.
No, just listen, please. This is my report. Just shut up for a minute, right?
Okay.
So, Mike, Vic, or Kirk. Yeah, which involve making clicks towards the back of our throats. Mike, Vic, Kirk.
Well, it's only with a K in it.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Then they go better with more angular faces.
Okay.
Now, tests show that we prefer people who have a round name and a round face, or an angular name and an angular face.
Well, that's no good for us.
But where it goes wrong is if you've got a round face and an angular name. Right? Then people start to dislike you. Right?
Well, that's the situation we're both in then, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, why?
I would say we both got relatively round faces.
No, you've got a very round face.
Well, yeah, but so have you.
That's why I call you loaf face.
Yeah, I know.
Affectionately, obviously. But I mean,
but that doesn't
your
make any
face
sense.
is like a loaf, the end of a loaf.
When was the last time you saw a round loaf?
No. Well, you see plenty of round loaves these days. You can get a big cob loaf, which is round.
Yeah, but most loaves are not round.
No, but
I mean, if somebody said to you, what shape is a loaf, you wouldn't go, it's round, would you?
No, I'd say it comes out of a traditional loaf tin.
Yeah.
And your face,
loaf-shaped.
to my view, is like the end of a loaf sandwich bread.
Loaf sandwich?
Well, you must know about the sandwich loaf because you worked in a bakery.
Yeah, but that's not round.
No, it's not, but the end of it looks like your face, which is sort of puffy and podgy and round, right?
Yeah, I don't really
Anyway,
get that.
let's get on with my report,
Yeah,
okay?
okay, then.
If there is a mismatch, we are less likely to take a shine to the people, my new scientific study has found. Now, the research would explain why so many people took an instant liking to the late Bob Hoskins.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Now, imagine him, Bob Hoskins.
He had a very round face.
Not with us now, very round face, right? But his face matched his round name.
Yes.
Conversely, Ricky Gervais has an angular name but a round face.
Yeah.
And it is thought that could lead to people being less likely to be drawn to him.
Well, that's rubbish, isn't it? Because he's one of the most successful comedians this country's ever produced.
Well, yeah, but do they like him personally? That's the point.
Well, of course they like him personally because they like what he does.
That's right. Now, all this incredibly detailed research, incredibly interesting and fascinating research, comes from the journal Psychonomic Bulletin and Review. So, what's your problem?
Psycho what?
Yeah, the Psychonomic Bulletin and Review.
Psychonomic Bolloxios, it should be called.
No. How dare you? The Psychonomic Bulletin and Review.
Okay.
And it was researched mainly by New Zealand's University of Otago.
Oh, yeah. Do you know that's where they played that rugby match just recently?
That's right. Absolutely.
The Lions were down there. There was Otago Times all over the place.
Eh?
The Otago Times.
That's right. Yeah,
was all over the stadium.
You know the kick that the boy missed, the Lions boy missed.
Yeah.
When they showed you getting nearer and nearer the post, there was an advert for the Otago Times right above
and
the post.
And in fact, I think I'm right in saying that the team themselves were sponsored by Otago something or other.
Yes, they were. You're right. So anyway, it says.
So you've got a round face and an angular name, so you should be unpopular.
Yeah, but I'm not, you see, so that's...
So there goes your crappy
Well,
research
anyway, look,
project.
It says, in tests, participants matched 9 out of... Sorry, I'm going to ignore whatever piece of nonsense that was. matched 9 out of 10 round faces with so-called round names.
Right.
8 out of 10 angular faces were similarly paired with angular names.
Yeah.
The test subjects, I don't know what your problem is, preferred people with matching names and faces.
Right.
Okay?
Okay.
So why are you still sniggering?
Well, because Blaze has just sent me a tweet that says there's no doubt about it, he's definitely getting worse.
What do you mean? Are you mad?
You're away with the fairies.
No.
Let them sleep, man, for heaven's sake.
I've just got the research that you don't possess.
Thank you. Mark Donaldson's coming up. Has he got a round face and an angular name?
Mark, yes, he has.
Yeah.
Mark.
Well, nobody likes him either.
Mark, and the round face.
Yeah.
He's very round face.
Bad
I
news
would
for
say.
him.
Yeah.
This is Talk Sport. This is Talk Sport. We are the two mics. Don't forget Porkyvision coming up a little bit later on. And as well as that, as if that wasn't enough, we're going to have a Postman Pork, which we haven't done for a while. So we've got a lot of packages to open and all sorts of fun stuff to get our hands on. So we'll be doing that in a little while. We might even film it and put it out on Facebook.
We certainly will.
Now, let's talk to our good friend, Mr. Mark Donaldson, who we haven't spoken to for a while. Mark, a very good morning to you.
Morning, gents. How are you both?
Very well indeed.
Very well indeed, Mark.
Thank
Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, all right, calm down. I have to confess, to be honest, that the US Open has kind of sneaked up on me, really, because we've been so obsessed with the Lions and the election,
politics.
the politics that's been going on, and some of the international football and stuff, and suddenly it was like, oh my goodness, it's tomorrow it starts.
It does indeed. It's at Erin Hills, which is in Wisconsin. It's not far from Milwaukee, so it's up in northern parts of the United States. It's a newish course. It's only been open 11 years.
Right.
And I'm sure you'll have seen on social media the golfers going, oh, look at Westwood. Westwood's caddy was in among the grass trying to find a ball. It's not that bad. They do this every year at the US Open. What I would say, I think the USGA are under pressure this year to get things right, because if you remember, Chambers Bay was a mess, a disgrace 2 years ago. And then last year we had the issue with Dustin Johnson, the rules issue midway through the round. So they're under pressure here, and it's not got off to a good start with a lot of players complaining.
Yeah, and then Rory McIlroy, of course, has said, well, hang on a second, the fairways are about 50 or 60 yards wide. What are all these guys moaning about? You know, I mean, if they're going to miss a fairway that's that wide, they should hit some rough, shouldn't they?
Exactly, and it's wide. It's also soft, pretty soft as well. They've had a fair bit of rain up there, so you're not going to get much run. So it's not going to run into the rough. And it's some of the widest fairways. I'm sure when you watch it on TV over the next 4 days, some of the widest fairways you've ever seen. It's not quite St Andrews 1st and 18th wide, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
And I think there'll be an under par score that will win this. I don't think it's this kind of, level par would be a good run. I don't think level par wins this tournament. I think it's under par.
I think Rory McIlroy, Mark, has been very bold in making this statement. First of all, you know, he's overseas. Obviously, he's more in his comfort zone when he's in Britain. But secondly, he's taken on his fellow pros and told them to stop whinging.
Yeah.
And thirdly, if he hits the rough, he's going to have to eat a bit of humble pie, isn't he, if he's scratching around trying to get it out? Because have you seen that joke picture that Lee Westwood's put out? You know, Lee Westwood, who he and I have had a bit of history of confrontational opinions about his own ability.
Yeah, he took exception to you. Didn't he not chase you around a course somewhere?
He chased me around Roller St Dan's with a 3-iron trying to assault me. But I
because you said he'd never win a major or something.
No,
right?
I said that he pulled out of the Masters that year because his wife was having their first child.
No, I see.
And I said it's not something Michael Schumacher would have done if there was a vital race. But anyway, that's by the by. But what I'm saying is, Mark, I think Rory's been incredibly bold in saying this, and will that put him at odds with his fellow professionals? He
doesn't care. I think that's the bottom line. I mean, this is a kid that is wanting to get back on track. He's had one or two injury issues as well. There's question marks over Rory. There's question marks over Jordan Spieth. Jason Day's heading form. Question marks over Dustin Johnson to the extent he didn't play that well the last time out.
Yep.
But I think of all the guys that are there, if everyone plays well, I think Dustin Johnson wins it if he plays well. But if Rory can find his A game, which he will, it's a matter of time. He might not have it just now. If he can find his A game, I mean, I was at Congressional in 2011 when he burned up that course and he won by lots to win his first major. He likes this tournament, so I think there's a bit of bravado. I think there's a bit of confidence about that comment as well, Porky.
It's the first time it's hosted the US Open because it's a brand new course. It's only open 11 years. It did host a US Amateur.
Okay.
So there are a few that have played it, but not too many.
Yeah.
It's not like Chambers Bay. It's a decent course. It's highly rated. The other thing is as well, when you're trying to illustrate a point of the rough being very long, then you go to the longest rough on the course. I mean, most of the holes, a decent drive is going to get you in the fairway or in the fringe, and then you're still going to have a shot. So it's like anything. You can do whatever you want with statistics and also with things like this as well. It will be up there, and you will have one or two players with issues, but come on, it's not going to be as bad as others are making it out.
And as we get to inevitable second major of the season, is anyone sort of talking about Tiger Woods and what happened to him and where he goes from here and all of that? Is there a sort of a Tiger Woods cloud, if you like, on the horizon?
Do you know what? That's a really interesting question because we've seen the kind of tide turning. I suppose it's a case of Tiger who. Tiger's probably not going to be mentioned at this US Open because obviously what happened recently, the three of us discussed it, and I think it's still a sad story. I just want him back, and I want him fit, and I want him healthy again. And golf right now it's not at Tiger Woods. It's not a priority for Tiger Woods. It's getting healthy, getting his life in order as well. And I remember when Porky Harrington won the Open at Carnoustie against Sergio Garcia in 2007, I think it was. I did that for Talk Sport. And it was a kind of asterisk about that because Tiger didn't play. And for a spell, there was it was like major winner asterisk without Tiger. Doesn't exist anymore. Even when he comes back, it won't exist anymore. I hope he comes back, but I don't think there'll be much talk about Tiger this week.
No, I don't think there will be either. I think that'll be out of due respect as well and an acceptance that he's gone. And it's best left the memories of the 14 majors that he got and don't speculate on the rest. So who are the Americans lining up as the favourite for this one, Mark?
Well, Dustin Johnson's the favourite outright, never mind just American. Jordan Spieth, obviously, if he hits form, his putting hasn't been as good as it has been when he was winning the Masters. John Rahm, the Spaniard, is decent. He's obviously in with a shout. Yeah. Ricky Fowler's an interesting one, Porky, as an American who hasn't won the major. The kind of tag of best player never to have won a major has kind of shifted over from Sergio now to Ricky Fowler. I think it's a matter of when, not if, Ricky wins a major.
Yeah, absolutely right.
But Sergio Garcia not in the running, and despite the fact he's our most recent major champion.
I think he's not.
Yeah.
I think when you look at the odds, I mean, you could take, I think 9 of the last 12 major winners have been in the top 20 in the world. Yeah. You look at how close the odds are. You've got Dustin Johnson, the favourite. Then you've got McIlroy, Day, Spieth, Rahm, Fowler, Rose, Garcia, Scott, Matsuyama, Stenson, Justin, Thomas. Now, all those players are 33 to 1 or less. Yeah. So you're going to get a good bit of value, but it just shows you golf right now is in rude health. There's a lot of players that can win this tournament. If I'm going to make one tip, bearing in mind how I got on at the Augusta Masters when I tipped Dustin Johnson, I'm going to tip you Thomas Pieters at 50 to 1 with Brandon Grace, the South African, who's a really good player, as an outsider. So we saw Thomas Pieters at the Ryder Cup. He's my selection this week, and I hope he doesn't fall down the stairs.
Well, I was going to say, as long as he hasn't rented a house with very, very polished parquet floors and he's walking around in his stocking feet, I mean, that's what we don't want.
That's right.
But I'll tell you another sport which you follow keenly, which is in rude health, and that's tennis after the French Open. Rafa Nadal looking absolutely brilliant. You know, Djokovic slightly still not quite hitting his form. You know, Wawrinka knocking out Andy Murray, but Murray's still doing okay. I mean, Wimbledon could be very exciting this year.
It could indeed. I mean, it's a different surface. Obviously, the grass, so serving really comes into it. It's far quicker than the clay. I love the story of Jelena Ostapenko, the Latvian. First, I mean, that's a phenomenal story. So beating Simona Halep in the final, who looked good. She looked really good against Pliskova in the semis and in the quarterfinals as well against Svitolina. You don't often get that. I mean, that's probably like a League One side who start in the first round of the FA Cup going all the way through to the final and winning it. It doesn't happen in sport very often. Nadal was just peerless, phenomenal. But Ostapenko, for me, was the story.
Yes. And also, poor old Porky's favourite, Maria Sharapova, for me, is kind of out of the tournament and out of tennis until the end of the grass court season in what I regard as tennis karma.
Yeah, she'll not be playing at Wimbledon now, but I mean, I think she was going to have to qualify anyway, so there was no guarantee she was going to get there. Right. We saw her in Stuttgart. She looked okay, but still a little bit rusty. But tennis karma. You
old
you
MG. MG's so venomous about Sharapova because
she's a cheat.
Because she's so glamorous. Because she's so successful.
She's a cheat.
Because she was so young when she first won Wimbledon.
She's a cheat.
He just resents everything about her because women who are completely unattainable to him always get the reject button from him. You know what I mean? And let's face it.
I don't know where you're getting that from.
Well, I'm getting it from everywhere.
No women are unattainable to me, by the way.
Of course they are.
No,
don't be ridiculous. What a ridiculous statement. Just shows you the state of mind of the guy I have to work with every day. I'm telling you, it's not easy, Mark. It's not easy.
Last time,
like Ringo Starr said, life ain't easy.
Last time you were with a woman, we all had black and white televian sets, so I wouldn't want to hear anything about your latest conquest.
That's terribly amusing. That is, breaking my ribs here, laughing. Anyway, Mark, what about the England football team? What about the England football team from your side of the pond?
He's more interested in Scotland, I think, isn't he?
Are you?
Oh, no, let's not talk Scotland, please, because honestly,
what a game!
Free kick for a point, we're all happy. But France, England, I did that game earlier with Craig Burley, and for me, middle of the front, England are all right. Oxlade-Chamberlain's not a central midfielder. We saw that. I don't understand why they practiced since the Scotland game with John Stones as a defensive midfielder.
Unbelievable. Unbelievable drivel.
Cahill didn't have a good day. And I thought the goalkeepers were all right. I know Heaton conceded a couple, but I thought he made two really good stops. But by the way, France, they've got like 3 or 4 players for each position, and you can still get good odds for them at the World Cup.
You can.
Team they are.
I mean, look, if you had to say these two European teams separated only by the English Channel, both going to Russia next year, which one would you bet on getting further in the competition?
Oh, France, without a doubt.
Of course.
They qualify first. I mean, it's all right having good players, but they went to Sweden and lost because the goalkeeper had a howler. Toivonen scored from far out against Sweden on Friday. And the next game, they've got 3 of the last 4 are at home. The next one's against the Dutch, which they're 3 points clear. They've got to qualify, but if they do, for me, they're one of the favourites because the strength and depth in Mbappe. I don't think you'll see Mbappe in the Premier League. I think he'll end up in Madrid.
Yeah, that's right.
Very possibly so, which is still, unfortunately, the case that the Premier League isn't as big of a draw as everyone here would like to think it is, unfortunately. So we'll be spending money on people like Pickford, the £30 million goalkeeper from Sunderland going to Everton.
It's not a bad signing. I think he's a future England number one.
It's a lot of money, though.
But that's the market value. And here's another thing as well. Looking at Paul Pogba, what kind of season did he have? Well, you think of it based on how much they spent, 83 million on him. You think of guys like John Stones. I mean, John Stones didn't choose to be 50 million. Is he worth that? No, he's not. But he's only worth what people are willing to pay. The overinflated transfer market value in the English Premier League is the reason you're paying 30 million for goalkeepers and 50 million for centre-backs.
Of course.
And by the way, the best transfer of the summer, I think, will be Victor Lindelof, Benfica to Manchester United, which should be completed later today. And at half the value of Virgil van Dijk, I think that's a steal.
Is that right?
That does sound like good business. Absolutely right. Well, listen, Mark, enjoy the golf. Have a great time. We'll speak to you very, very soon. Mark Donaldson there from ESPN. Some interesting information coming in on the old tweets here. Smoggy Aussie says this. Otago at the bottom of New Zealand's South Island produces one of the best Pinot Noirs in the world.
Is that right? I don't like Pinot Noir.
Don't you?
No, I like...
well, you like Pinot Grigio.
I like Pinot Grigio. Actually, I don't mind Pinot Noir. It's Sauvignon I can't stand.
Really?
Sauvignon, to me, is far too sharp a grape to be able to satisfy my palate.
Is that
and
right?
I steer away from it.
Okay, well, thanks for letting us know.
Yeah,
Scott says this. I would have loved to have seen Lee Westwood chase Porky on the course. Maybe it could be a new TV series. Run around with Porky.
That's right, yeah. Well, I tell you what, I had to move pretty rapidly fast. He was a lot younger.
Well, luckily he's not the fastest guy around the course,
no,
I'm sure.
True. That's
true.
true.
How about this one from Wilco? He says, I think I'm finally cracking up. Porky's round name, round face, mumbo jumbo actually made sense to me.
Thank you.
Hashtag help me.
Thank you. Thank you.
This is Talk Sport.
Yeah.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. Don't forget you can tweet us at the Two Mics, at Mike Parry, at IROMG. Don't forget as well, and we should be able to tell you about the New York ticket line, which should be opening very, very soon. But you can also already stream the show live when it happens in September. So you can go to our website, thetwomics.co.uk. And we've got a new podcast out as well, haven't we?
We've got a new podcast out.
Which is called On The Record.
It's called On The Record. Is it Chapter 5 that's just gone out? Episode 5?
Episode 5 just gone out. Yeah. Episode 6 will be going out next Monday.
Yep, that's right.
And on and on.
And episode 7 is in production.
And it's all about...
episode 8 is in planning.
Our adventures in America.
Yes, that's right, absolutely,
Which people seem to quite like.
Yes, they do, they do. And we're very delighted and happy to be able to share those experiences with you.
James Higgins says this: if Pickford is worth 30 million, what's the value on Donnarumma at only 18?
Who?
Donnarumma.
Donnarumma?
Yeah.
And who is Donnarumma?
Donnarumma is another target, I think, of many Premier League teams. He's meant to be the sort of boy wonder.
Who's he play for?
I'm not sure.
No, is he a goalkeeper?
I think he is a goalkeeper. I think he plays for somebody in Italy.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Right. Right, that's all very good. Now then, what do I want to tell you about? Here we go. Now, you've told me about the best Pinot Noir in the world from Otago, right?
Otago, yes.
Yes, here we go. And what else do I know about it? I'm just finding out here. No, I don't know anything more about it, actually.
Really?
I thought my research document in front of me would tell me more, but no, indeed it is not.
Oh, right.
Now,
I've got some interesting news for you, which you may wish to take part in because of your familiarity with Bournemouth and its environs. I'm just looking at a piece of news here that only a few weeks to go until, in July, the 7th and 8th of July, the 2017 Beach Polo Championships.
Beach polo, where?
It takes place in Sandbanks, apparently.
Oh, in Sandbanks, yeah. Well, I can imagine
and apparently it's very, very famous for exhilarating polo matches and renowned after parties.
Yeah, well, the after parties, I think, is a thing.
Yeah.
I have to say.
So do they play polo? I presume they play polo on the beach, then?
Yes, they do. Yes, absolutely. They mark out the areas, set up the nets and all that kind of stuff.
I didn't
see
a big enough beach when I was at Sandbanks the last time to do anything like that.
Do you know that the depth of the water in Sandbanks Harbour or Songs Bay is no more than about 10 inches?
Where that chain ferry is?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
So you can't have a boat with much of a draft?
No, you can't. No, that's right. You can't. No, but even in the main harbour itself, it's one of the widest harbours in the world, but the water is very, very shallow.
Right.
As for where they do it on the beach, they cordon off an area towards, well, the opposite end of the bay to sort of where Harry's house is and all those expensive properties are. You know what I mean?
Right.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean. When you look at when you're on that boat that goes over to that little island I went to that's got the John Lewis Hotel on it.
That's right. Yeah.
There's not really any massive public beach there. Presumably the public beach must be further around.
Absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely, it is. Yes.
So that's where the polo will be.
That's where the polo will be. Yeah. Now I want to tell you about a chap who is a bit of a hero to people like me.
Oh, yeah.
Who have acute heart failure, right?
Right.
Because this young man is just become Britain's longest surviving heart transplant patient, okay?
Oh, yeah. Well, he's actually had a transplant.
Yeah, had a transplant 30 years ago.
Blimey.
When it was in its infancy.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, because back in those days, I imagine... Well, I suppose maybe more like 40 years ago, it was quite a revolutionary surgery, wasn't it?
Well, my father died about... hang on, that's right. My father died about 36 years ago.
Right.
And there had not been a heart transplant in this country up until then.
Really?
If there had been, then heart surgery would have been more advanced and he may have been saved.
Yes.
But he died from what I've got, but nobody knew how to treat it in those days, right?
Right.
So that's how recently it's sort of come into this country. But anyway, Britain's longest surviving heart transplant patient, celebrating 30 years since his life-changing op, and has completely defied medics who said he would live for just 10 years.
Oh, right.
Now, he was happy to settle for 10 years because when he underwent the transplant in 1987, he was only 19.
Right.
But the same donor heart is still beating away inside his chest until now.
And so that's pretty unusual then?
It's very, very unusual. I mean, it's, when I go back to Harefield, for my checkups and all that kind of stuff, I see all these charts on the wall and... they say this guy's just cracked 10, this guy's just cracked 15, this woman's just cracked 20. It's quite amazing.
And are they getting better at it then, do you think?
Yeah, of course they are.
So, I mean, in, say, 20 years' time, you might have a guy who's had one for 45 years.
In 20 years' time, Mike, without a shadow of a doubt, they'll have plastic hearts.
Yeah.
Just like they have plastic hips now and plastic parts of the body that they can replace, they'll have plastic hearts.
Right.
So that will mean that, most everybody who's got a dodgy heart will be able to have a new one.
Right.
But... Sir Terence English, the surgeon who performed Britain's first ever successful heart transplant, carried out the intricate operation. It was one of the first ever in this country. That's the amazing thing, okay?
Right.
And it was revolutionary. I mean, he became a famous figure worldwide. Such was his youth.
Yes.
He was only 19.
Right.
But despite being warned the transplant would give him 10 years, which, by the way, was very good news in those days.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
These days it would be, well, I'm afraid that'll only give you 10 years. In those days it was, this will give you another 10 years.
Incredibly added 10 years,
Yeah. Paul, the chap concerned, Paul Heyman, who puts his resilience down to relaxed outlook on life is still going strong.
Right.
Now, he says, I do wish more people would get involved in organ donation. So do I.
Yeah.
So many people die because there's no organ for them. And, part of that, remarkably, is because cars are so much safer these days and not as many people die in car crashes.
I suppose so.
Yeah, which is amazing.
And, I mean, also, it's still very difficult to match up two hearts. A heart with person who could actually be able to accept it.
When I was a full-time full-time patient at Harefield, one guy there had been taken into the theatre 5 times, and at the very last moment, on each occasion, the surgeons had decided it wasn't a match for the organ that had been flown in, sometimes by helicopter.
And they can't tell that until they're actually on the operating table.
Can't tell that. I mean, they've got a pretty good idea, from analysing the organ and trying to compare it to the notes of the individual patient.
Right.
But until the very last moment, you can't tell whether.
So what happens then? Because they can't really keep the heart.
The organ has to go. I'm afraid.
It has to be chucked away.
It just has to be thrown away, and it can't be used for anybody else.
That's horrendous, isn't it?
Yeah, because it's very individually, sized.
Yeah.
It's very individually prepared and that kind of stuff. But anyway, Paul says there should be more organ donation. Sports are changing the laws for the opt-out system, so that actually you should walk around with a card saying, "Please do not take my organs," rather than a donor card which says, "Please, you can."
That it would be easier if people opted out, because I think. But part of the problem with opting in is it makes you think about it.
Yes.
And it also involves you having to do something. And
yes,
you might not be
right.
particularly against doing it.
Yes.
But the very fact that you have to opt in means that you kind of go, maybe I'm not so sure about this.
No, that's absolutely right. Yeah. But anyway, this, he's given a talk about his experience in order to try and change that law for organ donation. And he points out, and I've been told this a number of times, 1/3 of patients die while waiting for a transplant because there's no organ, Right. Anyway, the father of 2 said, "Getting this heart was the greatest gift anyone in the world could receive. It's a miracle. Every day I think it's another day. I keep myself well and I take it all in my stride." He has also had a kidney transplant. I mean, this is quite remarkable. Blimey. Yeah. Sometimes a failure of one organ can lead to a failure of another because it puts too much pressure on the other organs in the body. He says, "I've been a really, really lucky guy. I do have to pinch myself each day as I can't comprehend that I'm still here." The previous longest survivor was John McCafferty, 73, who sadly died last year, 33 years after his transplant, but he was 40 when he received it.
So 33 is the record. So he's the guy who keeps another 3 years. And
3 years, and he'll overtake the record, yeah. But it's, a fantastic story of hope. And if I could just stress to anybody who's listening, please remember about the organ donation situation in whichever way you can help. Because, if you were lying in hospital, in Harefield Hospital, and your life was ticking away, you would honestly be saying to yourself, please, please, please. You don't wish somebody dead.
No.
But people die anyway.
Yeah.
And what you're wishing is that if somebody has unfortunately died...
Can they take a heart from anyone? I mean, presumably it has to be
somebody... You have to have the permission of the family.
No, I know that. But I mean, in terms of the age of the person, I mean, does it need to be...
Well, that would be a decision for the doctors independently on themselves.
I mean, for example, if somebody died at the age of 70...
Yes.
Would you take a 70-year-old heart and be...
I doubt it.
Really?
I doubt it. I mean, I'm not a doctor, obviously, and not science and all that, but hearts wear out like anything else.
Yeah.
They're the muscle that's most used in your body. They wear out towards the end of your life. And
they get fatty, I suppose.
Yeah,
as well.
They do. They do.
I mean, you probably wouldn't want my heart, for example.
No, definitely not. I mean, A, because you were a smoker most of your life, so there'd be big deposits of tar in it.
Yeah.
But B... things like drinking champagne and that kind of stuff does give you fatty liver and that kind of stuff, and that can affect your heart as well.
Right.
So I would say the answer to would a 73-year-old who died, would you want his heart? I think the answer's probably no.
Probably no, unless it's somebody particularly healthy.
Yeah.
No, I mean, it's a very good point that you make, and without wishing to trivialise it, you are, of course, the only person that I've ever met who was on the heart transplant list and was then taken off it.
Who took himself off it?
Well, you were taken off it because you didn't need it anymore, which is a remarkable story in itself.
It is a remarkable story in itself, yes, I agree.
If it's true.
It is absolutely true, and I do become rather irritated when you cast aspersions on the gravity of my health situation.
Well, it's just an extraordinary story.
And how brilliantly I've fought back from the abyss.
Well, to me, it's a more brilliant story than the one that you've just told me about. This guy who's had a heart transplant and survived for 30 years with it is less of a story to me than you being on the heart transplant list.
That's right.
Not getting a heart and then living a further 30 years, which is what you've done more or less.
No, a further...
20?
No, so far, a further 13.
Is that all?
It's 2004.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was longer ago than that.
No, 2004.
Okay.
Flown home from Lisbon.
Yeah.
Desperately ill.
Yes.
Yes.
That goalkeeper, by the way, plays for AC Milan.
AC Milan, that's the guy.
About. And how about this from Steve the cabbie? He said, blimey, Lee Westwood must be right out of shape if he couldn't catch Porky.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I thought that as well.
Maybe Porky's right. He'll never catch a major either.
No, don't worry, mate. I was hiding in the champagne tent. He couldn't find me.
Yes, quite.
I had a priest with me as well.
A priest?
Yeah.
Why?
He was a Hindu priest who wanted money, so I gave him 50 quid.
A Hindu priest?
And he protected me, yeah.
Well, he protected you.
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Well, was he also a kung fu specialist?
No, he wasn't a kung fu specialist, but he sort of, he allowed me to sort of meditate with him. So Lee Westwood didn't want to bash me over the head while I was in meditation.
Oh, well, you could have put a couple of robes on you. Is that what you mean?
Well, not really, but I mean, it's that sort of thing. I was in his tent,
I see.
Yeah, which was next to the champagne tent because he knew where all the money was. No, it's true. It's true.
Well,
he knew
there's
where all the money
nothing easier than taking any money off drunk people.
Yeah, well, especially in the champagne tent.
Yeah, that's what I mean. You just wait for them as they come out. Now, we've got Postman Pork coming up very shortly. We've also got Porkyvision as well, so it's going to be a very, very busy hour to come. And, of course, there will be a Porky quiz, but it will be in the 10 to 1 show that we're going to do on Friday. Yeah. And we'll tell you more about that probably tomorrow, or the day after, actually, I should say. This is Talk Sport.
Hello, this is Tim Vine on Talk Sport. It's Mike Parry's post bag. I can't wait to see what's in there.
Postman Pork, I eat my chips with just a fork, 'cause then I can still talk.
Righty-hody. Righty-hody.
Well, we haven't done this for quite a long time, so there are quite a few packages to open.
Well, it's just a selection here.
Yeah.
I mean, we've got a bag full out there, and I want to thank everybody for sending us all the stuff, okay?
Yeah.
Remember, it's... was it Porky the Postman? Postman Pork. That's right.
Postman Pork.
It's Postman Pork.
We've just done Postman Pork. How can you think it's Porky the Postman?
Yeah. Talksport Towers, which is 18 Hatfields, Hatfields, London. What are you laughing at?
Well, because you're spelling it all out.
London, SE1 8DJ. And thank you for all this pile of stuff. Let's get through it, okay?
Yeah,
Put that to one side because that's the big parcel.
Okay.
Let's get through with some...
We should just point out, by the way, because a couple of people are asking about it. You might be seeing on a screen here, but terrible fire. 200 firefighters, 40 fire engines, a big block of flats over in West London near Latimer Road.
Yeah.
It's near Latimer Road.
Has
gone up in flames. I'm hoping the reports are right. A couple of injuries, and they've got everybody out. Because it really is a towering inferno.
Yeah.
Horrendous.
I think I heard they were sending 40 tenders. I mean, that's an awful lot of fire engines.
200 firefighters, 40 fire engines.
Crikey, that's let's just keep our fingers crossed, please, that nobody is going to be involved accidentally in that fire.
Yeah.
We don't want any casualties. Right, let's get down to it. Okay, Postman Pork, see it? Right, this first one I'll open.
First one, right.
Something in here, obviously. Well, there's obviously is, because it's a package, but I mean, I can feel the shape of something.
What sort of shape can you feel?
Well, sort of bubbly shape. Oh, here we go. Right, it is a Twix bar for 60p. Thank you very much indeed. That's always welcome.
How do you know it's 60p?
It says 60p on the front.
Oh, right.
Okay.
Is that a reduced amount, then?
Well, I don't know. It must be a special offer. 60p special offer.
I thought that was how much they were.
Dairy milk, fruit and nut. Thank you very much indeed.
I like
okay,
those.
that's always good. And a letter. And the letter is from... It's from Ray Dracula.
Ray Dracula, our friend in Croydon.
Yes, that's right. He's been a correspondent before.
Yeah.
Dear Sir Mike, I do like it when people address me properly like
that.
Sure,
that's you he's addressing.
Did you spot the story in any of your licensing journals last week that Wetherspoons sell over 16 million portions of fish and chips annually in their pubs, enough to stretch to the moon and back? Or fill 2,000 double-decker buses end-to-end. What a shame old MG doesn't appreciate fine dining. See, that's a letter to you, really.
Fine dining.
It's a message to you, anyway.
Yes.
Best wishes, Ray Dracula Croydon. Please accept the enclosed free gift for the next time the office vending machine breaks down. Well, the office vending machine only breaks down when thug-like people start to shake it and attack it to try and get stuff out of it for free.
Is that right?
But we have now banned that practice in this office, and it won't happen again.
Yes.
So was
it working today?
It was working today.
Okay.
I had a can of Lilt's.
Did you?
Delightfully Caribbean taste. Yes, it was great, okay?
I think you've gone mad.
No, I haven't. Right, now here's another one.
A note here from Weege. It says, I think Porky had it right when he called himself an inmate at the hospital.
Yeah, that's a bit harsh, isn't it? Right, here we go. This one is addressed to the Porkmeister.
Okay.
Postman Pork, of course, that is. Let me open this up.
Absolutely right.
And this is from, let me see now, It is from Mr. J.R. Jones, who
J.R.?
J.R., who lives in Powys. He lives in a place called Knighton.
Powys?
Yeah, and he says, just a short note to see if you received the book I sent you, Go, 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 by Rusty Furman. Regards, Jason Jones.
Rusty Furman?
Yeah.
What's that?
I don't know. The answer to that is no. I'm afraid, Jason, we haven't received your book, but if you... Sorry, I've got an itchy ear here.
Have you? Well, you don't have to explain that because nobody can see you scratching it.
No. I'm just on the video there, yeah. Right, OK, now we've got a book here.
I forgot to make that live, you know.
To Porky Parry. What?
I forgot to send out the live link for the Postman Pork.
Well, could you send it out now, please?
Yeah,
right, OK, here we go. A present from a publishing company to Porky Parry.
Oh, yeah.
We were warriors, one soldier's story of brutal combat. Captain Johnny Mercer. I think he's an MP now, isn't he?
Johnny Mercer?
Yeah.
Isn't he a band leader?
Captain 29 Commando, served in the British Army for 12 years. Maybe he's not an MP now. Anyway, look, it's very nice of the publisher to send them, but I want to talk to our real people.
It's all a bit chaotic.
And our real people here, the two mics, Porkmeister, Porky Parry, Postman Pork at the TalkSport, a real listener, not a publishing agent trying to find a plug for a book, you know. We don't do that sort of thing here.
No, that's right.
Have you got that link going yet?
I'll just get sending it out now.
OK. A little note to say... thank you to the Porkmeister so much for a wonderful show. My husband and I are both avid listeners, also to MG. Kate and Robin. Kate and Robin Collins, good luck and best wishes. Hazel Dove, isn't she lovely? If Sam Allardyce, his name's Allardyce, actually.
Allardyce.
But Sam Allardyce is half as nice as Paradise. OK, somebody's trying to make a song out of it. OK, thank you.
You sure you read that in the right order?
I did, yeah. And then some other sort of poetry stuff on the other side. Going on about Chris Evans for some unknown reason. Calling Chris Evans, where are you? Well, he didn't work for us, so he won't be here. But a little note to say thank you. That's very nice indeed from Kate and Robin Collins. Thank you. That goes to the pile. Now, what have we got here? Here we go. Mr. M. Parry Esquire, otherwise known as Postman Pork, private and personal.
Oh, yeah? You might not want to open that.
Yeah, I will. TalkSport, 18 Hatfields, London. So this is another one that's very important because somebody's put time and trouble into sending it to me.
I'm always worried if it says personal, it's got some matters of a personal nature.
Well, I don't think there's anything that I need to hide in my life.
Really?
Right, here we go. Open this. And it is from... I'm sure it's from, actually. It's a chap called Syed Kudubi.
Okay.
Yeah, or
Syed
Kutub, I think. And it's very kind of you to have sent me this. And I don't think it's from him, actually.
No?
It's from...
Where is it from, then?
It's from Dr. R.B. Peberdy. And he says, I happen to hear some of your broadcasting... about things.
What?
38 Randolph Street, Oxford. Look, I would just want to thank you very much indeed. And,
well,
it's a picture of Brasenose College, Oxford.
Oh, right.
Which, of course, is
does that look familiar to you?
It looks very familiar indeed. That's where I went for my interview to Oxford University.
Did you not spend a couple of days there?
I did. I spent a couple of days
there. Did you have rooms in that building?
I had rooms in that very building.
Really?
I'll hold this up. I had rooms in that very building, and every morning a chap with a brace and bib woke me up with a cup of tea.
Did he?
That's what they had. They were the sort of manservants, they had at the place. Butlers indeed.
Thank you, butler.
So thank you very much indeed for that one. Right, now, tell me this package now. There's a package here. The sender is... hang on. The letter earlier said, did you get my book from
Maybe
Jonas Jones?
Yeah.
This, I think, is the book.
Well, there you go.
So, I mean, this is
so
great
news. The system
news.
works well, then.
Yeah, the system works very well indeed. Yeah. I've spotted a chink in the armour
Can you tell that that's from Mr. Jones?
Of the wrapper. You can tell it's from Mr. Jones.
Yeah.
I'll just get it open. Right, now here we go. Look, brute force needed sometimes.
Yeah.
Please, but...
I can get you an implement if you wish.
No, I don't need implements. So here we go. Just opening this here. Yeah, this is very good. This is excellent. Not too many presents, of course, in the post tonight. So
no, it seems to be, no.
Must be able,
you haven't passed anything my way.
We must emphasise that, if you want to send us anything, it's, like a present or something, we'll always consider it.
Well, you don't want to have people sending too many nice things in, though.
Right, here we go. There's a note inside the book, right? The book is Rusty Furman, Go, Go, Go.
Oh, yeah.
Now, this seems to be something about the... Oh,
is
here we go.
Rusty Furman the guy's name?
Rusty Furman and Will Pearson have written a book called Go, 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 The Definitive Inside Story of the Iranian embassy siege.
Oh, there you go.
5th of May 1980.
Oh, because you were talking about that, weren't you?
I actually worked on that story.
Yeah.
I camped
Is Rusty
out.
one of the SAS guys then?
Well, I think he could be.
Yeah.
I camped outside for 5 days.
Yeah.
And it says here, who dares wins. This is there's a note inside here. Wait a minute. In fact, there's almost, I think, a unique picture of the SAS going in through the window here.
Uh-huh.
It's very, very detailed. Rusty is the middle man with no gloves. So Rusty Furbin is a member of the SAS team that evaded the Iranian embassy.
Okay.
And he's pictured here, and he sent me a picture.
He's not, do you remember there was a really good documentary done a while ago? Was he the guy who was the main subject of that?
Well, could well be.
Because I remember he talks about getting into the room and popping...
that's right.
About 5 guys.
That's right. Yeah,
who were all the hostage takers.
That's absolutely right. And I want to say a very big thank you for this book, because I did actually work on that case, and our base was the Royal Hotel,
the Royal Kensington Hotel.
No, not Royal Kensington, Royal Gardens.
Royal Gardens
Hotel on the edge of Kensington Palace. So that does bring back some really terrific memories. So I want to say thank you to
something for you to read later.
Yeah, and there's a bit of a note. I got it signed for you by Rusty, who was Blue Team leader during the siege. I have a few friends who took part in the rescue operation.
Wow.
Nimrod. Also, Rusty has said that if you'd like to meet for an exclusive interview about the siege, he would be more than happy to meet. Rusty's number, and we got all that, yeah.
There you go.
Well, thank you very much indeed, and that's very kind of you.
Fascinating stuff.
My wife and myself listen to your show every morning when it's on in the morning, and every mid-morning when it's on mid-morning. And that is, again, from Jason Jones in Powers. Thank you very much indeed. That's very,
nice.
very kind of you.
Jason, what a star you are.
Yeah, you are a star, indeed, yeah.
I think Rusty is indeed that guy. I think that's the guy who was the subject of the documentary.
I better open this letter here. There's a few more, but I'll just... have we got time for one more?
Time for one more, yeah.
Time for one more.
Absolutely.
Open this.
Because we've got to get Porkyvision in as well, don't forget.
We've got to get Porkyvision in, that's right. Yeah. Let's have a look here. Here we are. There we go. Yes, it is, in fact... I think somebody wants an autograph or two. They've sent some plain paper. Let's have a look. I think they want them for you as well. Right. This is from Frankie Thompson.
Yeah.
Writing inquiry if you could possibly send an autograph photo and possibly autograph on the 2 white cards. Wishing you all the very best, Frankie. I enclose that. And Frankie is from Lanarkshire. Bells Hill, have you heard of Bells Hill?
Bells Hill's in Scotland,
yeah. Bells Hill.
Yeah.
And even a return envelope. So they will get back to you. We'll get those back to you as soon as we can, Frankie. Thank you very much indeed. It's very, very kind of you. So show so much interest in our show. And, we really do appreciate it. And
we do indeed.
Every single listener we
have.
Very true. There's a load more stuff here, which I haven't had time to open.
We'll save it for next time.
We will save it for next time, and we'll definitely get to it.
And what's the name of the feature?
This feature?
Yes.
Postman Pork.
Postman Pork, there
yes,
you go.
Indeed.
A lot of people have expressed astonishment you can remember what it was called.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was indeed Postman Pork. There will be another one at some point soon. Coming up very, very shortly. It's going to be Porkyvision.
Thank you.
This is Talk Sport.
Thank you.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Talk Sport, we are the Two Mics. Porkyvision coming up a little bit later on. We won't be back tomorrow morning on the mid-morning slot because the cricket is on, but we will be back on Thursday morning at 10 o'clock when we will do, of course, Ask Porky. So we'll be putting out some stuff on Twitter and Facebook there. Johnny says this, can I get a shout-out? I just had an emergency appendectomy here in Gangjin, South Korea, and now recovering. Keep up the great work.
What is an appendectomy?
He's had his appendix taken out.
Oh, right, OK, yeah. Well, that could be quite serious. So it wasn't ruptured or anything like that.
Well, he said it was an emergency one, so it could have been. And I mean,
have you ever had your appendix taken out?
I never have, no.
I don't think I have either.
No, you don't think you have?
No.
Well, you would either you have or you haven't.
Well, I don't remember having them taken out.
I think you'd remember it.
No, it's like your tonsils when you're a kid. Have you had your tonsils out?
No.
I think I have.
Do you?
Or maybe not.
Well, if you looked inside your mouth, you could see whether you had them.
I might have had my adenoids taken out instead.
Adenoids?
Yeah.
Very possibly.
Yeah.
I mean, I used to have very, very frequent sore throats.
Oh, I see.
And tonsillitis a lot when I was a kid.
Right.
And they wanted to take my tonsils out, but luckily my mother wouldn't let them.
Really? Yeah.
And she just stopped them doing it. Because a lot of people had their tonsils taken out, and a lot of people had their appendix taken out.
Yeah.
And I remember, actually, when I was a teenager, people saying, in years to come, you'll be born. Children will be born without an appendix.
Yes, I'm sure
you don't really need it.
No, that's right.
But that hasn't happened yet.
You know, when I played football, we had a great at the King's School Chester, where I starred as the midfield general of the first
dynamo.
Midfield
dynamo.
You
say.
Yeah. We had a great goalkeeper called Richard Yarwood.
Oh yeah.
And Rich was a great goalkeeper. You know, I mean, he was lithe and athletic and all that. Now he ended up in Nottingham with me. But I think he went to the other university, you know, the Nottingham University. The other one.
University of Nottingham.
I was at the
as opposed to Trent Poly.
I was at the University of the Trent.
No, you were at Trent Poly.
And then all of a sudden I got this amazing message of shock that Richard was in hospital. And he'd been playing football for the university team. Yeah. And he got a kick in the solar plexus. Yeah. And he had his spleen taken out overnight.
God. That is really dangerous.
Well, apparently you don't need your spleen either. So he's had a full life sentence. Yeah, I mean, I lost touch with him. No, you don't. You don't. And he, you know, I thought, we went up to see him in hospital, and the doctor said, well, he had a ruptured spleen, but we had to remove that immediately.
Maybe I'm thinking of if you have a ruptured spleen and nothing's done about it, it's a very dangerous
I think
thing.
It is very dangerous. Yeah, exactly. But he had to take now, and apparently his life has never changed since, you know. So that's the sort of things you can get away with.
You don't want the stuff that's in your spleen to be leaking into the rest of your body, I think that's the thing.
You certainly do not, no. And do you know what shocked me the other day when I read that Andrew Cole, who used to be known as Andy Cole, was great football and all that.
Yes.
Had a kidney transplant donated by his nephew.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, can you think if somebody came to you, a member of your family, and said, look, you know, I desperately need a kidney. Can I have one of yours?
Yeah.
You'd give it without thinking, wouldn't you?
I think you would, yeah.
I'm sure you would.
Yeah.
But then you'd always think to yourself, blimey, you know, can you get by on one kidney?
Yeah.
Well,
I suppose they say you can, don't they?
Yeah,
I mean, it
indeed.
depends on what time of life. I mean, I've been very fortunate, actually. And I know that we joke about it a lot, but you've come through an awful lot of medical procedures and all the rest of it.
Yeah.
I've never really spent much time in hospital in my entire life.
No.
I've spent more time in hospital, you know, attending to other people.
Yes, that's right, yeah.
And the only time I ever was admitted to hospital was when I broke my wrist playing football.
Right, okay. You told me that as a kid,
No, I was in my 40s.
Oh, you were in your 40s?
Yeah.
Oh, right, okay.
Well, I made the mistake of playing football when slightly bladderated.
Yeah, exactly,
Which is the kind of stupid thing you do when you're 42.
Funny enough, the Richard Yarwood I'm talking about played with me for the King's School Chester Old Boys at a place called Bourton Hall, where we played against a Bourton Hall team. Bourton Hall were a cricket team, but in the winter they had a sort of football team, you know. Bourton Hall was a lovely cricket ground on the edge of Chester.
Yeah.
And we all gathered in the local boozer to have it was a very cold day.
Yes.
So we thought we'd have a whiskey or two to warm up.
Yeah.
And we got the time of the kick-off wrong. We thought it was sort of 1:30, but it was 2:30.
Yes.
So we arrived in the boozer at 12, and we were aiming to leave the boozer at 1.
Yeah.
But in
so
fact,
you just have a couple of quick shandies.
Yes, that's right. But in fact, we left the boozer at 2.
Yeah.
And it was very, very cold outside. It gets colder in the north of England, more cold than it does in the south of England.
Well, I know that, yeah.
And when we got there, we were completely bladderated, and the game turned into a fiasco because people couldn't run in straight lines and all that kind of stuff. You know? And it was a disgrace.
Well, this wasn't so bad, but it's actually, I was probably a bit young. I was probably in my 30s, actually. But a few of us after work at the Express used to go and play football, five-a-side football in Spitalfields Market.
Yes, Spitalfields, I remember that. Yeah.
And I think because unusually, normally when we did it, there wasn't any drink taken during the day. But I think unusually, for some reason, some drink had been taken during the day because some of us were out.
Right, okay.
And I was actually tackling Robert Jobson, believe it or not.
Oh yeah, well he's a bit of a lump.
Who was a very good footballer. He used to play for Southend.
Was he?
Yeah, well his dad used to own Southend.
I know his dad used to own Southend. That's right,
he played at quite a good level, you know, up until sort of the time he went off to university. You know, semi-pro type football.
That's right.
And I got my foot stuck on the top of the ball.
Oh, no.
And I went over the top of it and landed on my wrist.
Good.
And landed and went over on my wrist backwards, you know, the wrong way.
Yes.
Bent it all the way back.
Yeah, it's not
and
good.
And it didn't hurt.
Not good.
You know, until I got home. And then it started to be really painful.
Now then, you mentioned to me the other day that the man who invented the Hawaiian pizza
had passed away.
Suddenly died. So, of course, I went and did some research on it.
Did you?
And I found out that his name is Sam Panopoulos.
Yes.
A Greek man who settled in Canada, who first added pineapple to the top of a pizza in 1962 while running a restaurant with his brothers.
Yeah.
He said, we just put it on just for the fun of it to see how it was going to taste.
Yeah.
said Mr. Panopoulos, who died just a couple of days ago.
Sounds like pineapple, doesn't it?
Yeah, we were young in the business and we were doing a lot of experiments. More than half a century later, the debate continues over whether Mr. Panopoulos' invention was a work of culinary genius or a revolting bit of vandalism on an otherwise good pizza. The inventor of the Hawaiian pizza has left a worldwide debate, culinary debate, on whether a meaty, cheesy and fruity legacy continues to divide pizza lovers around the world.
Sure. Well, I mean, depending on which part of the world you go to, many different things are put on the top of pizza. I mean, if you go to Italy, for example, they'd be horrified at some of the stuff we put on pizzas here.
Yes.
Like the meat feast that you get from, one of these takeaway pizza joints. They don't really put meat on them at all. They quite often put seafood on them in certain parts of Italy, which I'm not very keen on, to be honest. I'm not a big seafood on pizza type fan.
Yes.
And a lot of them have no meat on them at all. They'll have maybe a little bit of pepperoni, but that's about it.
It's become a worldwide debate. The president of Iceland, Gudni Thorlasius Johannesson,
the country.
The Iceland, the country, Thorlasius Johannesson, said earlier this year that he would ban pineapple on pizza if he could find the constitutional authority to do so.
Yes.
He says, I like pineapples, but you just don't have them on pizza.
That was a bit of an overstated fact, though, I think, because I think he said it in response to a question from a primary school kid.
Yeah.
And he was just having a laugh. He wasn't actually going to ban
that's right. However, the new Prime Minister of Canada, Justin Trudeau, obviously rushed to defend the honour of the Hawaiian pizza because it was one of his countrymen who invented it. Gave a nod to Mr. Panopoulos. He said, I stand behind this delicious southwestern Ontario creation.
Did he actually invent it to go with ham, I wonder, or whether that came later?
Well, it says we just put it on just for the fun of it and see how it was going to taste, he said. He just added it to whatever else was on the pizza. I mean, I love Hawaiian pizza. I think the pineapple deliciously enhances the flavour of the ham and the mushroom that I have in it as well.
Yeah.
Obviously, the tomato sauce and the cheese and the pizza base.
Yes.
So I'm all for it.
Okay.
But when I go to Pizza Express, the restaurants, rather than Domino's Pizza, the takeaway, Pizza Express don't do it.
Right.
They have, unless they've changed. The last time I was there and asked for it, they said, I'm sorry, we don't do pineapple.
They've only got a specific type of pizza that they do, haven't they?
That's right, yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Well, thank you very much indeed for that. I'm getting more tweets, by the way, on this fire in West London.
Yes.
A couple of stories coming out.
It really is a towering inferno.
It really is a towering inferno.
We can see the pictures of it in our monitors in the studio.
Grenfell Tower. Yeah. And there's now a story that's been put out by The Guardian in which it says that there are fears that people may be trapped inside the building.
That's very bad news.
But that's not the case, because if there's anybody trapped in there, I don't think they're getting out.
Why can't we see any helicopters? Because if people are trapped, the helicopters should be flying overhead.
Well, I'm not sure that that the situation is viable for that kind of thing. I mean, you can certainly see a lot of blue lights. And because of
where's
darkness,
Latimer Road?
Latimer Road is out towards Shepherd's Bush. It's kind of, if you imagine, it's not far from where I used to go to school.
Right.
It's kind of between Goldhawk Road. It's not far from where QPR's ground is.
Yeah, that's right. I know. I know where it
you'd
is,
come down Holland Park Avenue and you go right into Shepherd's Bush and sort of down that way.
I know where it is. Yeah.
In fact, Westways probably goes past it as well.
The raised Westway Road.
The A40, if you do that.
Well, I'll tell you what, we're getting some more close-up pictures now. It's horrific.
It's absolutely awful.
It looks like a film set.
You've got to pray that there's nobody in there.
You've got to absolutely pray. But I tell you what, it's a huge building. This is on fire. And if everybody got out, they'll have to have got out very early on in this conflagration because it's gripped the... I mean, it's going to be merciless. Anybody inside that building now has had it, I'm afraid, which is a terrible thing to say.
Well,
Let's just keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, we'll see what the situation is, and we'll try and find out if we can get anybody on it. But certainly we'll keep you updated as best we can during the course of this morning. Coming up next, though, it's time for Porkyvision.
Certainly is. As your TV reviewer, I can reveal there are no plans for a new series.
Yeah, no, but wasn't there a previous series?
Oh, hang on, wait a minute. It says here there might be a new series. What's your problem?
We've had Postman Pork. That music now means it's time for Porkyvision, and there's an awful lot of new shows on at the moment.
Oh,
so,
certainly are.
It's a very good time to be getting stuck into it, really.
It certainly is. It certainly is. Now, Poldark, of course, is back.
Yes, so I believe.
And, absolutely fascinating because what it looks at is Rogerization over a period of time.
I see.
Now,
remind us of how the last one finished, because I can't remember. Did they get married or something, or am I too long ago for that?
No, what happened in the last one ended when he found out that his former love, Catherine, was marrying Warlegan, who was the local, very wealthy landowner, you know what I mean, who's had a lot of luck in business, whereas Poldark had no luck in business, you know. And to stop her, I can't quite work out the thinking here, but to stop her from marrying him properly, he gallops off over there in the middle of the night and indulges in Rogerisation with her.
Oh, that's how the last one ended?
That's how the last one ended, while her fiancé is not around to realise that this sordid coming together of Poldark and Angela has taken place, okay?
Yes.
Now, that poses a problem for the opening of the new series, right?
I'm sure it does.
Because in the new series, she, of course, is very pregnant because she's got married to old Warlegan. I think his name's Warlegan.
I don't know.
It's a great Cornish name. And so, and now hang on here, let me just check this out.
Warlegan.
It is Warlegan, isn't it?
I don't know.
Yeah, I think it's Warlegan.
I never watched Poldark.
Eh?
I never really watched it.
Let me just see here.
It's popular with many of the ladies who like to watch Poldark taking his shirt off.
Yes.
At every possible opportunity.
Yes, that's right.
But I can't say I'm one of them.
Right, so anyway, what happens is old Warlegan, I'm just double-checking this, of course, because I like to double-check everything.
You like to get it right,
is happily now on the brink of fatherhood because Catherine, the one who was Rogerised by Poldark, in an all-night and extreme bout of horizontal refreshment, I have to say. Yeah,
an extreme bout of horizontal refreshment.
Yeah.
Superb.
Yeah.
The best kind.
Yeah, Catherine's pregnant, right?
Yeah.
So what happens is, and the year is 1794 now, okay? And old Poldark's mines are starting to make a bit more money.
Yeah.
But let me see. Let me see here. Yeah, I think it is Warlegan. But anyway, so Catherine... oh, no, hang on. No, it's not Catherine, it's Elizabeth.
Elizabeth. Right.
So it's Elizabeth goes into labour.
Yeah.
Now, the thing is, she goes into labour a month early. Now, the point is that old Poldark was giving her the old rumpy-pumpy.
So he's not married anymore, then, this guy?
Oh,
Poldark.
yeah, he's still married to the beautiful Demelza.
Oh, is he?
Although Demelza punched him in the face.
She's the redhead.
She's the redhead.
Yeah.
She punched Poldark in the face when he got back from his night of Rogerisation
with
Catherine.
Yeah.
You know, he said, it's something I had to do for the family honour. I don't know why family honour involves...
So he told her, did he?
He told her. He told her that he wanted to stop her marrying out of the particular Warlegan family into another family. You see what I mean?
I see.
Or into the Warlegan family even, and out of the other family.
Yes.
So out of the Poldark family.
Yeah.
So what happens then is that she now realises the baby's going to come a month early.
Yeah.
Apparently, babies used to come on the dot in those days. So 9 months after,
I doubt that.
9 months after conception, the baby is born.
I very much doubt that.
Now she's ready to give birth. After 8 months, she realises it.
Yeah.
But that's because she's been Rogerised by Poldark a month before her husband.
Oh, I see. So the dates are wrong.
Rogerised her after the wedding.
So the dates are wrong.
Dates are wrong. So do you know what the scheming individual does?
What?
She stands at the top of the stairs, gets 2 big pots, throws them and smashes them down the stairs, then runs down the stairs and lies down at the bottom pretending she's tumbled down the stairs. You see what I mean? Yeah.
Right.
And everybody rushes to her. Oh, you're all right. So then, cleverly, the doctor on call is a Poldark associate.
Oh, yeah.
Like a former, military mate of his.
Oh, yeah.
Okay?
So he's in on it.
He's in on it.
Yeah.
So he says the fall could induce the baby early.
Okay.
And this is the cover.
So this is the
conspiracy,
yeah?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, okay. So all that's happening. And by the way, there's an old auntie living in the big house, and she's reading the tarot cards and saying, no good will come of this, particularly as there's a black moon on that night. They didn't know what eclipses were in those days, but one happened the night the baby was born.
Oh, I see.
And then old Warlegan comes back, starts cradling his baby, that great look over his face, but everybody else in the room, except him, knows that the baby probably is not his.
Oh, dear.
Okay?
Right.
So,
is there anything that gives that away? Has he got different coloured hair or something?
No, because it's only hours old, the baby, but everybody else knows that the Rogerisation...
Yeah, but Poldark's got a very dark black sort of hair.
Well, yeah, but I mean, you see, you don't know enough about genetics. You see, you can have ginger hair even if your parents have got black hair. You know what I mean?
You can, but then on the other hand, if neither one of the parents has got the right hair as the baby, then
well, I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Well, okay, I'm just trying to establish whether you're,
Now, the other great new show which has started, right, because I'm right on top of these things, and I spent a day watching them all, is about, it's called Fearless. No, it's not. Hang on, wait a minute.
Fearless?
Is it Fearless?
I haven't heard of that.
Not sure. No, I don't think it is. It's called Loch. It's called Loch. That's what it is. Loch.
Okay, as in Loch.
As in Loch.
Loch.
And it is based on Loch Ness.
Yeah.
And what it is that people are starting to get murdered around Loch Ness.
Yeah.
Now, it starts off, amazingly, with a load of silly students who've gone and stolen a load of bones from an abattoir.
Oh, yeah.
Like,
An abattoir?
Yeah, an abattoir. They've stolen, like, all sorts of cow bones and things.
Cow bones?
Yeah, and a load of offal.
Right.
And they've laid it all out on the edge of the loch to make it look like an animal has come out of the loch and died and rotted. You see what I mean?
Like maybe being partially eaten by the monster.
No, I think they're trying to make out it is the monster, but it's been hidden under undergrowth and rotted, you see?
I see.
The problem is, when they went to the abattoir to get the offal, they threw it all into the inside of this set of bones that they'd stolen as well.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, one of the bits of offal is a human heart.
Oh, dear.
Yeah.
How did that get in there?
Well, you see, who knows? Now, the other thing is that the show opens with a body immersed in the loch and tied down by one of those curling things.
Curling, what, like a stone?
A curling stone.
I see, right.
The body is tied to a curling stone because curling stones are very heavy.
They are.
They're made of granite.
They're granite, yeah.
And so this is holding the body down in the loch.
Yeah.
But it can't have been murdered for long because it's a completely...
well, you're pretty much murdered. You're murdered, really, aren't you?
Yeah, but I mean, it hasn't rotted. It's not a skeleton.
Oh, I see what you mean.
It's still a body.
Yes.
And it's still got a suit on, so the guy was going about his own business and suddenly got murdered and dumped into Loch Ness, which is not a very pleasant way to end your life. But the only thing is that when we have a close-up look at his heart, it's not there.
Right.
Somebody's, cut it out.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
God.
So that's probably the heart in the abattoir.
Probably.
But then to make this an even deeper mystery of murder and mayhem, some poor young man who may have been walking on the cliffs or something has been assaulted by somebody and thrown off the cliffs to his death.
There's a lot of murder going on up there.
A lot of murder going on up there. What's really good about it is that the person investigating the murder is called D.S.Annie Redford. And she's about to take on her biggest case ever.
Right.
Meanwhile, D.C. Lauren Quigley, who is actually English and is Siobhan Finneran, who is
Siobhan,
the woman.
You mean?
Eh?
Do you mean Siobhan?
Yeah, Siobhan, that's right. She's been in Happy Valley. She was the sister of the hero cop, Sheila Lancashire, Sarah
Lancaster.
in Happy Valley.
Yeah.
But she's somehow turned up in Scotland as the senior investigating officer.
Well, her agent probably got the job.
Her agent got her the job. And the woman I'm talking about, D.S. Annie Redford, right, very attractive with dark black hair, was the the love interest of the bloke in that shocking programme based in Germany, with the girl who was kept captive for 12 years and all that kind of stuff. The Missing, yeah. She was the love interest, i.e., the sort of leg-over mistress of the father of the missing girl in that one.
Oh, yeah, I remember her, yeah.
Now, the thing is...
It's not easy to keep up with all these actresses.
No. The thing is, when they... what were we going to say? When they make these Scottish things, because the last great one was Shetland, right?
Yeah.
Problem is, there ain't that many great Scottish actors around. So they all turn up in the same one.
There's a few.
So a guy called...
Is the guy who played Doctor Who in it?
Tennant?
Yeah.
No, he's not, no.
He's a good Scottish actor.
No, he's not. That was he put the accent on. He's not Scottish.
David Tennant is Scottish.
No, he's not.
Yes, he is.
No, most of the time he's not. He puts the Scottish
David
accent
Tennant
on.
is Scottish.
Anyway, listen. Now then, Gray O'Brien plays Alan Redford.
Is he Scottish?
Yes, he is very Scottish, yeah. And I last saw him in Shetland, which was the great one about, the hitman who went and found the man on the witness protection scheme in the Shetlands and knocked him off. And he was very good. Now, he's the tour boat operator, and his police officer wife is the one who's investigating all the murders, right? Yeah. But the Loch Nafoy, is that Loch Nafoy? Is that near the loch?
Loch Nafoy.
Lochenfoy. Is that the nearest town, Lochenfoy?
Well, no, Loch Ness is a town as well.
Oh, Loch Ness
there is a town at the north end of the loch, yeah.
That must be what it is. So anyway, he's, kind of bit of a mysterious character floating around.
Is he?
Now, they've also introduced a guy called Blake Albrighton, who is the actor Don Gillett, and he races up to the village in his sports car, and he's a forensic psychologist, okay? Right. But the problem is, I don't think this is very good, because I know from studying all the Cracker scripts that no forensic psychologist has ever solved a case in this country. Not a shoplifting, not a burglary, not a theft, not a murder. They've never, ever solved... Right? They've never solved a murder.
Why is that, then?
Because they simply are just talking a load of, Bolloxios all the time about, the profile, this man's between 30 and 40. They profile people, and they always turn out to be not the profile of the forensic psychologist.
Right.
So they're a waste of time, a waste of space, okay?
Right.
So that's the other great programme that started. Now, there is another one called Fearless.
I'm not sure we've got time for another one.
Oh, don't worry. And Fearless is great. Because Helen McCrory's in it.
Who?
Helen McCrory.
Who's she?
She was the greatest actress in Peaky Blinders.
Okay.
She was Aunt somebody, you know what I mean?
The one that killed the priest.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, don't mess around with the Peaky Blinders and stabbed him.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
And
in like a phone booth or something, wasn't it?
That was right, absolutely. Yeah. So, and what she's doing is she's trying to solve a miscarriage of justice, which is going to be a sparkling case over the next 6 episodes, okay?
Yeah.
So what I would say is mass Rogerisation in Poldark.
Yeah.
No Rogerisation as yet in the loch.
Okay.
But it must happen, surely.
Yes,
It's got to, they don't have much else to do up there, do they? So in the winter especially.
Well,
so,
it's very dark.
That's what I'm saying.
Very dark place, yeah.
And as for Fearless, well, Helen McCrory never usually stars in anything unless there's a bit of the old rumpy-pumpy leg-overism.
Indeed, I'm sure
so I'm
there will be.
expecting some of that soon.
Okay, well, thank you very much indeed for pointing it out. So 3 programmes you should certainly get your teeth into.
Yes.
This is Talk Sport.
Yes.
The Two Mics, simulcast across the UK on Talk Sport and Talk Radio.
Today you and I are not the same. You say you like the sun, I like the rain. So before we go, do it all again. You better catch your own train.
This is Talk Sport. We are the Two Mics. We'll no show tomorrow, or Wednesday, I should say, but there will be a show on Thursday. We're doing Ask Porky, and that'll be 10 till 1 in the morning, of course. And then the Porky Quiz will be Friday. That'll be 10 till 1 as well. We're still tracking this fire, which looks horrendous over in West London.
It's getting serious because the latest report we're getting, and thank you very much for everybody who's helping us out here, BBC reporting that firefighters fear the tower may now collapse.
Yes.
This is getting very serious.
Well, it really is,
because when a tower collapses, to state the obvious, it can collapse onto other buildings.
Well, right.
So I should imagine at the moment police are racing round that area trying to evacuate people out of their buildings. Remember, a lot of people, well, everybody in the world's in bed at this time of night, you know, bar people like us.
Yeah.
And they'll be banging on doors and hopefully getting people out of the area.
I'm not sure they can even get inside at this point.
No.
So, I mean, if people are trying to still get out, I mean, it's always very difficult with these things. I mean, there's a lot of tweets going on suggesting that there may or may not be people inside the buildings.
That's
we
right.
can't say at this moment in time. We don't have a reporter there. We can't give you any definitive hope that there isn't anybody in the building or in fact that the whole place has been evacuated. We just don't know.
That's right.
At this stage we are aware of 2 people being treated at the scene for smoke inhalation is what the police statement says. And the tower block is on something called the Lancaster West Estate, which you may not know the area if you're not in London, but for those of people who are in London, it's behind Westfield's White City shopping centre, which you might see. It's right on the corner of Shepherd's Bush, basically.
Of course,
and sort of between there and Latimer Road Station, which is kind of towards the A40, as we said.
It is. It's on the approach road to the A40,
Yeah.
Oh, it's very worrying, actually, and quite alarming. If you've seen the pictures we're seeing now, you can't believe that there can't be casualties.
Well,
and
apparently
I hate to sound maudlin, but it's just an horrendous sight.
It's from the second all the way up to the 26th floor, 27th floor building. So, it is pretty awful. So we will keep you updated as best we can. But as I say, we can't, unfortunately, give you any absolute definitive report on the casualties or otherwise, because we just don't know at the moment.
No, we don't. No.
But let's hope that there's 200 firefighters at the scene, 40 fire engines.
Yes.
And they're tackling the blaze, so hopefully they'll be able to get it under control at some point.
We do hope so.
Shortly.
Yeah.
Lots of other things to be getting on with.
Absolutely, I mean, you've sent out a link now to the Postman Pork thing, okay?
That has gone out on the Two Mikes Twitter account.
Yeah, which I'm just putting up myself as well, so that'll go out very shortly.
Yeah.
Now, when are we back on the radio?
Well, we're back on the radio on Thursday at 10 o'clock in the morning.
So we get a bit of today off, do we? Yeah.
A little bit, yeah. The other good news I'm hopeful about is that we don't know for sure if we can arrange it yet, but Borough Market is likely to reopen tomorrow.
Yep.
Certainly parts of it are. Brindisa, the Spanish tapas bar, which is right on the outside of that part of the street where the terrorists were shot and killed by the police.
That's right.
Is opening. And they're going to have, I believe, a minute's silence around about 9:30 in the morning.
Yes.
We're hopeful that maybe on Thursday or Friday we might be able to get into the Wheat Sheaf,
which we consider to be our local pub.
Which we do consider to be our local pub, where some of those terrorists were shot dead by the cops right outside.
Yes.
We haven't yet heard whether they're opening tomorrow or not, but again, we'll if we can do a show from there, I think we should. Because a lot of people are going to be going down to Borough Market tomorrow.
They are.
And in fact, I may go down there tomorrow just to kind of
have a look and see what's going on.
And also to show a bit of solidarity and buy some things. Because, I mean, for a lot of those businesses, which are not, are selling stuff which isn't cheap. And we were talking about this the other day. I'm not sure how you compensate businesses who have had to be shut for the length of time that they've been closed, because people probably, as a general rule, would like to help other people who haven't been making money.
Yeah.
But if it's a company, you kind of, people are not quite so, ready to hand them cash, are they?
They're not so ready to help cushion the blow of the devastation which has hit everybody, businesses and individuals.
Exactly.
The individuals, generally speaking, emit more sympathy.
So
and
maybe
empathy.
I'll go down and spend a bit of money or something.
Yeah,
and,
well, I think that's a great idea.
Help to boost their coffers.
Yeah.
The other story I wanted to talk to you about is again something which is a little bit media centred, but it's all about the Guardian and the Observer relaunching in next year in a different size.
That's right.
So you know how, and for those people who know about these things, you know the Guardian and the Observer are a specific size.
Yes.
They're not broadsheet and they're not tabloid.
That's right.
They're something called Berliner.
Berliner, which is and they have to have special presses made to produce these papers.
Yeah.
And the reason they did that, again, and it was very pompous, was that the Guardian didn't want to be full-size broadsheet, like the Daily Telegraph still is, and like most papers were up till about 20 years ago.
Telegraph's about the only one that is now, isn't it?
Telegraph is the only one that is, and the Financial Times.
Yes.
So it didn't want to be described as a broadsheet because that makes it sound, sort of a bit
fuddy-duddy, maybe.
A bit fuddy-duddy and a bit, bit establishment, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Bit sort of, paper of the...
They thought it wasn't cool enough, maybe.
It wasn't cool enough. They didn't want to be tabloid because they didn't want to be trivialised and compared with papers like The Sun and the Daily Mail, which are different sort of tabloids, but both tabloid in shape. So they said, we'll be something in the middle. We'll be Berliner. Well, the Berliner presses cost 50 million quid. Right.
And they don't make any money, famously.
The paper's been losing money for decades, literally, but more and more recently. Alan Rusbridger, who was the last editor, who thought he was going to leave the editor's chair and become the chairman of the Scott Trust, which funds the papers. They get free money from the Scott Trust.
Because it's a charity, right?
It's a charity. They don't have to make a profit. Was actually... bounced out of the job before he even got into it by the new editor, lady who took over, because she thought that, the cost that he'd heaped upon the paper by employing something like, I mean, I know this sounds incredible, but 200 new overseas correspondents for their online service were excessive and extortionate and costing the paper millions of pounds.
Well, I'm sure I read, and I don't know whether this is correct, but there was something like 400 to 500 people working for The Guardian online.
That's right.
In London. And it's a very big operation, and it's thought to be a very good service and all of that. However, when you don't have to make a profit, then it's easy to do that kind of thing.
It is, but having not to make a profit is one thing. Stacking up huge losses is another. And assets have had to be sold. They had big shareholdings in very profitable magazines, Auto Trader and things like that, which they had a part of. and that's all gone.
Well, I can put some figures on it for you. The Guardian managed to reduce operating losses from 57 million for the year 2015 to 16 to 38 million for 2016-17.
But they still lost 38 million.
But they've still lost 38 million and boosted their cash funds to more than 1 billion by selling its remaining shares in the events and business media group Essential, owner of businesses including the Cannes Lions Advertising Festival. The plan is for the Guardian Media Group to break even, or at least for losses to be at a sustainable level by April 2019.
Yeah, I don't think losses at a sustainable level to me are losses. You know, I mean, losses are losses, and no business moves forward if it's losing.
Guess what? I mean, for all of the stuff about how we are the lefty newspaper of note and everybody wants to buy it.
Yeah.
Guardian's average circulation in April was 154,000 compared with 341,000 back in 2005.
That's right.
So it's practically halved its circulation in a period of about
a decade
12
and a bit.
years or so.
That's right, yeah.
You know?
That's happened to most newspapers, but not as severe a loss of circulation as that.
Yeah, but I mean, on a very low base, that's not good, is it?
No, it's not good at all.
When you're talking 154,000,
yes.
I mean, when I was running the Scottish Mirror, we had a sale once that was not far off that on one particular Saturday.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah.
And that was just in Scotland.
Yeah, which is excellent. Yeah. Of course it is, yeah. So, we're keeping an eye on this fire situation in London. It's getting worse because the pictures... well, how can I describe it? It started off as a blaze in a block, and then every window was showing glowing fire coming out.
Yeah.
But now it's surrounded by a halo of flames, if you see what I mean.
I mean, there are some pictures on Twitter, difficult to know, again, because of the time frame of what's going on, that show a different angle from the back of the building, which doesn't look as if too much of that is actually on fire. Yeah. But certainly the front of the building looks to have caught fire completely and utterly.
But the fire now is creeping up the outside walls. It's a pretty horrendous sight.
Yeah.
I wish we'd know a little bit more about the casualties, or hopefully lack of them, in this terrible blaze.
Well, it is very difficult to say, and as I say, there's no absolute and utter news, and we wouldn't want to give out any news which is not entirely correct. So it's better to give out no news than it is to give out false news. So the original word from the police is that there are 2 people being treated for smoke inhalation.
Yeah.
There are other reports on Twitter which are unconfirmed, which we can't really talk about.
No, we shouldn't.
Because we don't know whether they're true.
The fire brigade have made it clear that the fire goes from the 2nd to the 27th. Now, the only thing I can say about
the whole building.
That is basically the whole building, but it does mean that for some bizarre reason, the ground floor doesn't appear to be on fire.
No.
So if people have managed to get down to the ground, they have got out the building, hopefully. You know? And I don't know whether that would be in the lifts before the lifts were closed down or whether they get downstairs. But if they've made it to the ground or first, then hopefully they'll be safe.
Yes, absolutely right. Well, as I say, I mean, we'll keep you abreast of all of that.
Indeed.
As the night goes on. Otherwise, a couple of other stories in the papers that I suppose we should point to.
Yeah.
Many of them have got pictures of Theresa May and the rather embarrassing scenario with the Mexican wave. But she spent most of her day in Paris yesterday with Monsieur Macron.
Well, that was because of 2 things. Firstly, she's got to lay the grounds for Brexit, but secondly, of course, there was the football match.
Yes.
And I have to say that both great cities, Paris and London, have suffered terribly from terrorist atrocities over the last 18 months. And therefore, a meeting of minds there and a tribute to those who've died and suffered terribly in the terrorist atrocities. It was great to see the 2 countries united as a force together.
Sure.
Yeah.
I mean, what's also interesting is that all the papers are saying, reporting what Macron said to Theresa May, which is basically that it might well be worth considering reconsidering.
Well, he said, look,
Brexit.
if you ever want to come back, you're welcome.
Well, how about you don't go in the first place?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
And the way things are at the moment, nobody's really quite sure how it's all going to end up. So
that's absolutely right.
We'll be bringing you news on that, I'm sure, over the course of the next few days, because we still don't yet know when the Queen's speech is. And we heard John McCririck saying, he can't interfere with Ascot because the Queen has to go and open Parliament.
That's right.
And she also has to be at Royal Ascot. So it's all a bit complicated for us.
That's right.
May. She's not going to be able to work it out in a very, very simple way.
That's right.
We are the Flake. We are the 2 Mics. This is TalkSport.
Look at the light!
Don't forget to follow the 2 Mics at the 2 Mics on Twitter and on YouTube. Just look for 2 Mics TV.
Helicopter and money and all this kind of stuff.
Is that the French words for helicopter and money?
That's right. Yeah, really? Absolutely. Yeah. But of course it didn't work, and then they got him. But not before he nearly shot me.
Well, luckily you missed, otherwise you wouldn't be here, would you?
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
I saw the flash of the gun, I wonder what that was. And then you bang, you hear a ping on the wall behind you. That's why I dived into the concrete mixer.
Yeah, very good.
Try and get away. If you have an angular name, such as Mike, like me.
What do you mean, like you?
Well, my name's Mike.
So's mine.
Yeah, oh, yours as well. That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So
it's easy to remember because we know there's two Mikes.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
If you love the Two Mikes podcast, you'll love the live show. Weekday overnights from 1 a.m. on DAB Digital Radio and 1089 and 1053 AM and via the TalkSport app. TalkSport, your Premier League station with exclusive commentaries every weekend.
What an absolute corker!
TalkSport.
Completing another, Wepo-papa-bambi show.
What?